Al's not coming tonight? We just,
The new guys aren't ready yet? Okay, I think we're ready.
okay. It would, sorry. Would it be after 7 o'clock? We will call the Wednesday, April 27th meeting to order, and we will start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Start off with the approval of minutes. Jack, did you read them?
Yes,
What a guy.
I've reviewed the March 23rd, 2022 minutes, and I move to approve them as drafted.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. NOIs. We'll start off with the continuances. 242, 1837, 1260 Salem Street, request to continue to May 11th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is 242, 1839, 1160 and 1116 Great Pond Road, Brook School. Request to continue to May 11th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Okay, next one is 242, 1840 Mill Pond Townhouse.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, good.
Whoa.
Oh, we're gonna echo?
Getting some wicked feedback.
It's the phone and the microphone.
Oh,
The computer and the microphone.
Amy, say something?
Yeah, me?
better.
Feedback? Am I
Okay,
going-
go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Am I? How do I fix that? Well, I've got my headphones on. That's how I'm,
Are you getting digital delay out of that phone?
This is, I'm on mute here.
And the sound is live on the computer?
No, my computer is mute.
Where's that coming from?
No, we're getting the echo from you, it's not coming from us.
It's coming from me. I can hear an
No.
echo. Oh, that's better.
Okay?
Sorry about this. It's, if they can't hear us, if we can't hear us, they can't hear us at home.
Oh, they can't hear us at home.
Well, they can't hear us right.
I can hear you guys fine.
Okay.
All right.
I'm the one that's, every time I talk, I hear the feedback.
Well, I didn't hear feedback from you, Amy. I can hear you perfectly fine.
Oh, okay,
It's got to be someone in the room.
okay.
This is on mute.
Can we turn the house speakers down inside here? Is
Yeah, that'll eliminate that.
that any better?
Then we won't hear anybody.
Drop the house speakers. Okay, that's much better, actually. Yeah, much better. All right.
Okay, we good?
By the way, Mr. Producer, I don't want your job.
All right, Amy, fire away.
Okay. So Tony, I just want to check to make sure that you had listened to the April 13th meeting for the
I
no
can't
pond.
hear you now.
Really?
Yeah.
Say something, Amy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, I turned my speaker up. Okay. I just wanted to check with Tony. Am I feeding back again?
No, it's got that delay.
So I keep going.
It's like watching Max Headroom for the 70s.
We'll figure it out.
Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to check with Tony that he was able to listen to the April 13th recording for the meeting for Mill Pond.
Yes.
NOI? Okay, great. So the commission will recall this is proposal for reconstructing a walkway and retaining wall, construct steps and ramp and landing to establish an ADA compliant access to the renovated clubhouse. At the last meeting, the commission asked for a stamped revised plan to be provided. We have that in hand. You had no other concerns. There is temporary work that's going to be happening in the 25 in order to install the stone drainage trench, but there's going to be no permanent impact from that. So those were the issues from the last meeting.
Joe, any questions?
No, that's what I remember too. I'm all set.
Thank you. Jack?
I'm all set, no questions.
No questions.
Motion? Or is there any budgets for this project? Evidently not. Okay.
So I move that we close the public hearing and issue a decision within 21 days.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Next one is 242-1841, 479 Lacey Street, Windrush Farm.
Alrighty, the commission will recall that this is construction of a new storage shed at behind the riding arena. It's just outside the 75-foot no-build to a vernal pool. At the last meeting, we were waiting for Natural Heritage to come in with comments. They have with no concerns, and the commission had no other comments other than that. So I recommend to close and issue in 21 days.
Okay, thank you. Joe?
As I recall that we asked for, and we're assured that they would change the proposed cedar posts to demarking the back limit, that they were gonna make those granite and put markers on them, and they're not shown on the plan. But that's what I recall.
The cedar posts are shown on the plan.
The cedar posts are shown on the plan, but I thought we asked, and the applicant's representative said they agreed to put the granite posts in.
I guess,
To demarcate the conservation.
Am I wrong in my recollection?
No, you're right.
You're
You're
right.
right.
no, yep, I reckon. I mean, is it something we can condition, or do you want the plan to?
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
condition
we're
it.
not gonna continue with
Yeah, we can condition it, and in the preamble, simply say that the applicant agreed to.
Okay.
All right, any more, okay, Amy?
Yep, that's it.
All right, any more questions, Jack?
None for me.
Jack?
No changes
Tony?
on the plan?
No. Motion,
I move that we close 242-1841 Windrush Farm on Lacey Street and issue a decision within 21 days.
okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is, 242-1842 Lorraine Ave. And before you speak, I'd like to speak to the applicant and the abutters. I know this is a contentious application, but I'm gonna reinforce the fact that all we are gonna talk about is the wetlands bylaw as it pertains to the project. The roadways and paper streets and all that stuff, we are not gonna address that all, because all we have authority to is act on the wetlands, the 25, 50, and all that. So if anybody even attempts to bring that stuff up, I've never used this, but I might. There's nothing we can say, we can't tell the attorneys, and we get town attorney interpretation, we have Ms. Saragusa's lawyer's interpretation, so I don't want to get into it because we have no jurisdiction over that. So, please, if you have a wetlands issue, we're more than happy to hear it, but that's as far as we can go accordingly. If it gets out of control, I'm just gonna close it and continue it for the next meeting, because I don't feel like staying until midnight talking about things that we have no control over. Are we all set? All right, so
I'd just like you to acknowledge that you did receive my letter.
I personally did not, but I know staff did.
Thank you.
It might even be in the packet, I haven't reviewed it. because
It's not in the packet.
Huh?
It's not in the packet.
Okay, because I discussed it with, I discussed it with staff extensively on the direction that I was gonna take with this project. I talked to Mr. Saragosa, we talked at length about certain things, and I was in harmony with them, but that stuff is out of my control. So all I ask is that the applicant gives their presentation, and if you have wetlands issues, we'll be more than happy to hear it, and that's where we're gonna go. Or I'm just gonna shut the thing down and continue it
And
for
Lou,
2
let me,
weeks.
if I could, just expound upon that, but in a different direction, as opposed to what we can't do. Let's tell what we can do. So what's in our purview is the wetlands protection, and that is the resource area and the buffer zones to the resource area. There's a line on the plan that's 300 feet. Everything closer to the wetland than that 100-foot line is our jurisdiction, meaning everything coming off of Andover Street up to that line in Lorraine Avenue, they can do without any action before this commission at all. They don't need us one bit. But the work within that 100-foot buffer is within our jurisdiction, and we have to weigh it out as it impacts our bylaw and as it impacts the statutory wetland from the state. Those are the things that we're here to discuss and only. And what that is, whether it's a house or a driveway or a roadway or an airport, that's all we're looking at is the impact of the wetland within that distance. Nothing more, nothing less. Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
That works.
Good, because I can't take it back.
Public record. Okay, so, you want, all right, Amy, give us your verbiage and we'll go from there.
Okay. The proposal involves paving Lorraine Avenue, which is an existing private gravel roadway that services 10, 14, and 15 Lorraine. The roadway does contain town sewer and water. Construction sequence includes grading the roadway to subbase, installing a paved binder course within the current footprint of the road, which is approximately 20 feet wide, construction of a 2x2, approximately 133-foot-long infiltration trench along the southeast shoulder of the roadway to improve some level of infiltration and velocity dissipation during smaller storm events. Installation of finished pavement course and super elevate that to maintain existing drainage patterns and avoid any ponding on the west side of the road. A grass swale is proposed along the northeast and northwest shoulders to carry runoff to an existing catch basin at the mouth of the roadway. This catch basin's rim will be reset to match the elevation of the newly paved road. Work is within the 100-foot buffer zone, the 25 no disturb zone, and the 50-foot no build. A waiver request has been submitted. Currently, the 25-foot no disturb zone and the BVW itself is experiencing impact from flows that carry silt and sediment-laden runoff from the gravel roadway into these resource areas. And in addition, winter snow plowing deposits heavy amounts of gravel in the buffer. The existing condition of the roadway is essentially impervious, and stormwater standards do not apply as the project involves less than 4 residential lots. Conservation Department has visited the site a number of times, and our field inspector reviewed the wetland line yesterday and found it to be accurate. Town engineer John Borghese is in favor of the project and has seen the plans. And let's see, I guess that's it for a rundown on the project.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Moran.
Good evening. For the record, John Moran from the Moran Cameron Group. We're here tonight representing Dave Kindred, who's the applicant for this notice of intent application for the paving of Lorraine Ave. Amy gave a great summary of the proposed project. I'll just add a little additional information. The commission probably read it in our cover letter that was submitted with the notice of intent. So Lorraine Ave is a private way with a gravel surface that provides access for 3 residential dwellings, as Amy had pointed out, number 10, number 14, and number 15. These dwellings are serviced by town sewer and water. Every spring, the residents on that road are repairing the road from several potholes that keep forming in a few locations. Based on the evidence that we could find, it appears that the roadway was built in around the 1930s when number 10, which is the first house on the left, was built. Based on some of the evidence that we found on the site when we were doing the water service for number 14, the commission may recall we had filed a notice of intent for that lot for the raise and rebuild a house in that location. When they were doing the water service and the sewer service, when they excavated out to the sewer in the roadway, we did find some remnants of old pavement, but we weren't able to verify if it was just part of the fill that they would use over the years, every time they would regrade that road over the years. But the roadway itself is pretty much impervious. We did also talk to Greg Hockmuth from Williams and Sparagus. We had Greg actually delineated the wetlands. And while Greg was on site, we asked Greg to take a look at the surface as well and give his opinion, which he provided a letter to the commission, which we included in the NOI. Greg also gave the opinion that the surface is impervious. Therefore, proposing to pave the surface isn't going to increase the rate of runoff or the volume of runoff leaving the site. So, as Amy had pointed out, we looked at whether the stormwater standards apply, and in our opinion, they do not apply because it's servicing 3 dwellings. And we spoke to John Borghese about the proposed project and our plans, and he agreed that the stormwater standards didn't apply, and he also agreed that the proposed application by super elevating the road to maintain the existing drainage patterns made sense, and the installation of a stone infiltration trench along the easterly side in the close proximity to the wetland made sense. That trench will serve 2 purposes. During small rain events, you'll actually get some infiltration and storage in that trench. And during larger storm events, that trench will serve as a device to slow velocities down before they get to the wetland. And it'll also work as a level spreader in that location, whereas right now runoff is just directly out into the wetland on that location. There is some grading right out by Andover Street that we're going to have to do to make sure that the runoff gets to the existing catch basin. That's all outside the commission's jurisdiction. It appears there's been some settling right at the interface of the connection from Lorraine Ave and Andover Street, and water's ponding right at that intersection. But again, that'll be corrected when we regrade Lorraine Ave, and we'll reset that catch basin rim. As Amy had pointed out, we do have work in the 25-foot no disturb and the 50-foot no build for the repaving of the road. As you can see on the plan, the wetlands are in very close proximity to the existing roadway, so there's no way to stay outside that those zones when repaving the road. Again, to increase the treatment of runoff heading towards that wetland, we're proposing that infiltration trench to make that work in that location and provide additional treatment before the runoff leaves the site. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Joe?
So I remember this property from years back. I remember it from not too long ago back when the number 14 came before us for their NOI and ultimately their permit. I remember great angst and concern with runoff and stormwater. They worked to contain all that control within number 14's lot at that time. But fully recognizing even back then that I knew it was impervious, though it's gravel. It doesn't take any water. So what we really have is, in my opinion, is so long as they're not altering the runoff pattern, the volume, or the speed at which it moves, meaning keep the grades the same and keep it going in the same general direction, what we are having is a possibility for net improvement by taking the silts and the continuous grading and reworking of that roadway that finds its way, one, into the wetland and two, into the drainage system.
Correct.
By paving it and putting a drip edge along the edge that collects and controls that, first of all, it's clean water, cleaner water coming off of the paved surface, except for sand in the wintertime. But it gets into that stone, filters out, and moves its way down. So, within our jurisdiction, I see that there is absolutely a net improvement happening. That thought could also be extended through the rest of the roadway outside of our jurisdiction, but I'm not going to speak to it. I want to be very clear that all of our orders of conditions have some standard conditions right up front, one of which is brilliantly written, which is we're not gaining or granting or considering any other rights beyond those covered under the Wetlands Protection Act or our bylaw. Meaning, if there's an argument for zoning, planning, land ownership rights, water rights, or anything else, we're not speaking to those, and we're not granting any other permission, and we're not taking any permission away from people who might have it. So if there's another argument for another jurisdiction, by all means, but not here. I have no questions, and I see a net improvement.
Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, I have a couple of stormwater questions. I guess, could you explain what it means to super elevate the surface, the pavement surface, and how is that going to preserve the current stormwater flow patterns in the vicinity, more specifically on the western side of that, the westerly side of that road?
Sure, so to super elevate means you're raising the roadway surface so it drains from one side to the other. Typically on a roadway, you have a crown down the middle and drainage pitches off to both sides. When you look at this side, it's extremely flat, but there is a flow from, if you're standing in the street, in Andover Street looking down Lorraine Ave, the flow goes from right to left.
Right to left.
Or west to east. So we're super elevating the road to maintain those drainage patterns, so the flow is always going from right to left. We're also grading along the shoulder of Lorraine Ave on the westerly side. There's an existing swale there now. We'll maintain that swale. All that runoff will be carried out to the edge of the road out by Andover Street, where it'll then get in the gutter line of Andover Street. And that's the point I brought up, where we're going to be regrading the gutter line of Andover Street where Lorraine Ave is, to make sure that that runoff gets to the catch basin that's right at the corner of Andover Street and Lorraine Ave.
So in other words, put briefly, the road is pitched toward the stone-lined trench that treats prior to discharge into the wetland.
It's not just that area. The whole road doesn't head towards that trench, but any road surface upslope of that trench exactly is going to that trench.
Okay.
Further down as you head out of the buffer zone, more towards Andover Street, that's actually shifting across and it ends up in the front yard of Tim Breen, and it flows down a swale along out towards Andover Street.
Okay. No more questions. Thanks. Very good.
I have a couple of questions. It says grade roadway to subbase. Are you gonna use the existing subgrade that's there now? Or are you gonna build the road to town specs, or?
The intent was, because the road's been there so long, they're gonna scrape it back and verify what the subgrade status is. And if it's adequate enough, they're gonna just regrade that they need to make the necessary grading for the proposed plan and put the binder down right on top of that if we don't need any more subbase. There are a few potholes in there that they're gonna have to fix. So they'll rebuild the subgrade in that location and compact it. But we're anticipating, based on some initial work that Mr. Kindred had a site contractor do, there's not gonna be much subgrade work to be done. And again, it's because the road's been there for so long.
I know, I was there the last time it was done. The reason why I ask is for the future, so there's no intent that the road would be accepted?
No.
Okay. All right. The other question is, I'm a big fan of erosion stone shoulders, because I think the water flows in and better versus a grass swale. they can get overgrown and not maintained. At least if you stone shoulders both sides, or you don't want to do the westerly side, that, whatever the abutter wants. I'm a firm believer in the stone, that it filters all the contaminants, and I think it flows better than a grass swale. But I mean, whatever the commission wants, or what the abutters want, or the contract, I don't have an issue with. But aside from that, you know, as from a wetland standpoint, you know, you have to work in a 25. Unfortunately, that's where the road is.
Right.
You know, I mean, you can't move the road. So I don't have any questions. Tony?
Just a couple of questions. The soils out there, do you know what the soil group is, or?
We didn't do any soil test pits in the vicinity of the road or right on the shoulder, because we're right on the wetland edge. When Mr. Kindred put his foundation in, we raised an existing house over there. I mean, it was sandy loams,
All right.
poorly drained.
So, I'm just trying to look to the edge of the wetland. I'm just kind of looking, it looks like 230, 229 maybe, which would put the bottom of your infiltration trench kind of at that
Yeah.
elevation.
And again, the infiltration trench is just shown as just an additional measure, but you're exactly right. We're not meeting a setback to the groundwater.
I'm just kind of looking at it, it might make sense to have some sort of an elevated pipe outlet, just so if the groundwater does rise, you don't pull it into if you're trying to solve a potholing problem, if you get the groundwater, it gets pulled into the subgrade, you freeze thaw, you know, it might make sense to have a relief. I understand in the lower storms, it would still infiltrate, but that might, so we don't have to come back
Right.
10, 15 years. That might be something worth looking at. And then, I didn't get the whole filing, but was there any sort of O&M plan submitted?
I believe so.
Okay. No, it's just because I know you're putting the improvements out there, so it'd be nice to, I know Lou brought up the mowing of the swales, so if there is an O&M with the submission, we get the brief synopsis. And if not, you know, if the owners would be amenable to having an O&M plan for maintaining that infiltration trench. And then just for longevity of the infiltration trench, I sometimes like to see the Marafi wrap all the way around a few inches below. So then you have kind of like a choker layer above that Marafi. And then if you have to repair it afterwards, you can just pull the first 3 or 4 inches out instead of having to dig the whole trench out.
You
Just,
just vac, leave the Marafi in place.
yep,
Vac stone, it's gonna pull the stone.
yep.
Right.
So that, just some food for thought, but I you know, overall, the concept, gravel roads next to a wetland usually don't work out up here in New England, so paved surface does make sense in this situation, but if we can kind of get the road to be in a situation so it lasts long-term, I think that makes sense. That was it.
And I'll look into the O&M. I thought we had one. I'll double check that. We did look into putting a pipe in the trench, and we had issues trying to get it discharged to daylight. By the time you had the pipe in there, the height you needed it at, it was literally almost at the top of the surface.
All right. No, it was just, like I said, it was just something.
Yeah.
Only because I've dealt with that before, where you're trying to improve the situation, but then you start intercepting groundwater and you pull it into the sub-basin, and you run into an issue there.
All set, Tony?
Yep.
Okay, now comes the fun part. We have abutters. Would anybody like to speak first? Tell us who you are, and we'll go from there.
My name's Dan Hazen. I'm from Howard Stein Hudson, representing Michelle Siracusa. We've reviewed Moore and Cameron's plan. I actually live at the end of a half-mile dirt road, so I am sympathetic to the trials and tribulations of people that live on dirt roads. One of the things that we did notice, and we had emailed to Mr. Moran, was that along the western side of Lorraine Ave, I'm sure everyone's familiar with, there's groundwater issues with 210 and sump pumps. One of the things that we'd noticed was that swale along the western side of Lorraine Ave could potentially hold the water up against the edge of the road and infiltrate into the ground there, which would potentially exacerbate the issues that we're having at 210. We had asked that that swale be basically graded smooth from the edge of the road back up into the lawn area, so that any runoff from the lawn would go into Lorraine Ave and then work its way to the catch basin, into the manhole, and then away from the neighborhood in this area. We were replied with that they were looking to put a 2-foot wide stone trench along the western side, which would further potentially increase groundwater issues that my client is having currently. This is all within the 100-foot buffer. A portion of it outside of the 100-foot buffer, I'm not going to discuss right now, but the portion within the 100-foot to the, so that was our main concern, that we would like to see that area graded flat.
Now, you referenced the stone trench on the western side. I think you meant the eastern side?
No, we had had a discussion, email back and forth between Katie Enright in my office and Mr. Moran. So that was a proposal that he had.
That previous approach, not before us now?
No, correct, it's not
Okay, I'm
before you
sorry.
now,
Okay, thank
so.
If I could just add a little more information to that. So kind of based on what Lou was talking, I didn't respond to Lou's comment. We actually proposed a stone infiltration trench along the westerly side, along that entire length, which would have a perf pipe in it. That perf pipe would be tied directly to that catch basin. So our reasoning for that was instead of regrading the road surface and then letting all the runoff from 210 to sheet across Lorraine Ave, we'd put that stone trench as an interceptor with that perf pipe. It'll pick up that runoff and then direct it directly to the catch basin. They didn't like that idea, so we took it off the plan.
So it wasn't a trench so much, it was a subdrain.
Yeah, it was really a subdrain, exactly. So we took that off the plan. We felt that that drain, not only would it collect the surface water, but it could intercept any groundwater, and it would directly discharge it right to the catch basin and not run it across Lorraine Ave or out to Andover Street. But they did not like the idea, so we took that off the plan.
From a maintenance point of view, if that was just graded flat, then you wouldn't have overgrown swales. You wouldn't have to worry about, if it was a stone trench or a stone swale, there wouldn't be the weeds that would grow up through the stones. It would just be easily mowed right to the edge of the pavement like they do now. They maintain the, that side yard currently, so it would just be a continuation without the swale in that area.
Okay, well, you don't want it, but to be truthful, myself, and I'm familiar with the place, with the gravel road, you might start off at 22 feet, the next thing you know, year it's 24 feet, the next year it's 26 feet. If they had the stone, it would be a long, long time before the stone would start growing weeds, especially if he's going 2 feet deep. It would take forever, and that would alleviate so much groundwater to their property, because it's perforated pipe with holes in the side, so on any water that came from their property would infiltrate into that swale and take it out to Andover Street. It would be helpful. If it was me, if I was bidding a job, that'd be the first thing I would do, would be to do that, to eliminate the water. I mean, I don't know what the reasoning is behind it, if they think they're gonna get more water. I think they're gonna get less water. Am I incorrect?
No, that was our belief as well.
Yeah,
How deep it was?
that's the way I would do it. Tony, you're an engineer, would,
It was only 2 feet.
Right, so it wouldn't really intercept a whole lot of groundwater being only 2 feet deep.
The groundwater on that area is probably a foot.
Yeah.
I mean,
That whole hill from,
It is.
from Royal Crest all the way down to Waverly Road, through across all the old farmlands. The whole thing is a perched water table.
Yeah.
And it, deepest is probably 18 inches.
even if it was designed as a subdrain, if it's a aesthetic sort of situation, even if they loamed and seeded on top of it, and then, I think, long-term, having a subdrain next to that road is gonna solve a lot of problems, and it sounds like it would also assist the abutter with the groundwater, even if it was a 4-foot deep trench.
If the.
If the catch basin's deep enough to,
Right.
Do we know if the town would allow the private subdrain to be tied into their catch basin?
Yeah, when we talked to Mr. Borghese, he didn't seem to have a problem with it.
I mean, it's clean, if it's intercepting groundwater, it's clean, it wouldn't be an MS4 issue or anything. It'd be-
Right.
yeah.
I mean, if they would entertain the idea of putting like you had mentioned, a stone trench along the side of the road wrapped in Marafi fabric with 6 inches of loam and seed on top of it, so that it wouldn't be an aesthetic issue for my client, then that might be something that we would be willing to address. We just, from our point of view, we looked at it as it would be half a truckload of loam, smoothed out, and this would all go away. So,
We can look at form and see.
over the,
Yep.
over,
Well, yeah, if we're gonna grid that flat, we're still gonna want the trench there, but as Mr. Capichetti pointed out, that could be a potential option, is that we could bring that loam and seed in, so you really wouldn't notice that it's there.
right, yeah, if it was below the surface, then that would probably be a more acceptable, but that would be,
Helpful for the Saragosas. That'll pull the water toward the trench.
And truthfully, it's also gonna intercept the water before it gets under the roadway. It's gonna make the roadway preservation that much better.
Yeah.
I think that would work well. I mean, it has to be close to 400 feet of road, so I mean, it's not a inexpensive project, so you'd want it to last as long as possible. And I think that's money well spent if it's something that you'd entertain, and if it seems to solve a problem for the abutter and everyone goes away happy or happier.
So rather than designing from the table, I think
Yeah. No,
it sounds like that they should probably go back,
Yeah.
come back and modify the application, not modify, but, amend it during our process of hearing the stuff's in jurisdiction, and then obviously outside of jurisdiction, you're just gonna show whatever is agreeable.
yeah,
But,
as long as.
I think there's some better options, and I think by you guys trying to, be neighborly, gave them what they wanted, but I don't think they know what they wanted. There are some better options here.
Yeah, and from a aesthetic point of view, as long as you can't see it, then it could possibly alleviate some of the issues.
Right,
but-
so both parties are agreeable to that?
Yeah.
Well, I still need to discuss with my client,
Right.
stuff like that.
Right, we're gonna probably have to continue this
Oh,
anyway.
yeah.
So let's, if there's anybody else, otherwise we can. if
No,
there's-
there's more about us,
All right.
trust me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Nobody from the other side of the fence? Oh, here we go.
Hi, Robert Etzel. I'll be quick. I just wanted to confirm that you did receive my letter today, and when I spoke with town council, she said that she was going to recommend peer review. Has that been discussed amongst the commissioners?
Amy spoke to me about it. I don't think a peer review is necessary.
We have two engineers and a guy who did paving for a living. You just got your peer review on this project. There's nobody who knows more than the three of us that we could possibly do, that's within our jurisdiction.
And I'm very familiar with that roadway. I've been out there when the Kindred, actually the Breens.
You stand corrected, 3 engineers. He doesn't do paving, but he's an engineer as well.
And so I was familiar with that. I was familiar when they first tried to put the road down. I supplied the material to the subcontractor when he graveled the roadway. So like I said, I am familiar, and I have had conversation with Mr. Saragosa about several things previous and the other day, and I don't think a peer review is necessary. And neither does the commission.
No, we wouldn't get anything more out of a peer
No.
review. You know, it was analytical, the number crunching, and then, you know, means and methods of the approach from an engineering perspective, we would probably want to hear it. There was none of that here. It's a back to, it's not even subject to stormwater. It's exempt from stormwater to begin with, so there's nothing to look at.
Right.
It's essentially grading and.
Basically, it's all
pretty-
BMP, best management practice.
Okay, and when the revisions come back to you, there'll be an O&M plan as well?
Yes. Yes.
No other questions?
I just want to jump in. I haven't received the letter from the abutters attorney.
You have not.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, so that is something that we have to address. Are you agreeable to this project moving forward?
So,
What did you say?
Well, you had conversation with the town attorney, and because you hadn't signed the abutter list,
And we noted that objection in my letter.
Correct.
so you don't have a problem with it.
but Amy, you've said you have not seen the letter yet.
No.
So since we're gonna likely continue this for another 2 weeks, another next meeting, I urge you to simply mail it to our department, or to otherwise verify that we actually have it in hand, and it becomes part of our record.
Okay.
Right. So the reason why I look to continue, it seems like everybody's kind of agreeable, but I want you and the abutter to
Work out the details.
work all the details, and then it can be approved for the next meeting. Okay, any no more questions?
Motion to continue.
Motion to continue.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lou, when's the next meeting? May 11th?
May 11th, my daughter's birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next order of business. Get my agenda. 242,
Did you guys move to continue?
yeah, they moved to continue.
Okay. Sorry.
And it was Joe and Jack.
And you meet every 2 weeks?
Yeah, May 11th is our next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business is 242, no number, 1761 Salem Street.
Alrighty, this notice of intent is for the installation of a repairing of a leaching field and septic system to replace the current system that failed Title V inspection. All proposed work will occur within the existing maintained lawn areas. The majority of the property lies outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, but falls within the 200-foot riverfront area associated with Boston Brook. Soil testing was conducted with the hope of moving the system outside the riverfront, but that was proven not to be feasible due to the depth of ledge. The proposed leaching facility will utilize improved effluent treatment in the form of a Presby Enviro septic piping system. There are, I believe, 4 trees of 6-inch diameter or less that are gonna be removed within the lawn area to make way for the septic. Natural Heritage, it is within priority habitat. They have responded and determined that the project is exempt from MESA. The Conservation Field Inspector went to the site yesterday to review the wetland line. And between the time that the consultant flagged the wetland and performed the site visit yesterday, the applicant had done some work on the property in jurisdictional areas without permitting. That included tearing up a large section of the driveway, which is gravel, but right now we have just exposed dirt. There's some storage of carport tents and equipment that is probably on Harold Parker State Forest land, and between the 25 and the 50-foot no zones of the wetland. Evidence that vehicles and equipment were being stored in the 25. And then evidence that there has been equipment use in the riverfront at the rear of the house. There is remnant fill behind the house that the current owner did not put there, but it was the previous owner, and that seemed to have a lot of trash in it. He has been cleaning that out, but it's a lot of small plastic pieces, so, but that's, not something he did, it was something inherited when he bought the house. The wetland line was generally fine. They made a few minor adjustments. And so we're at the point where we have a notice of intent, but we discovered violations that need to be addressed. So I don't know how the commission wants to move forward, or let's talk about the septic first and then the violations, or what. And Peter Blaisdell with Williams and Sparagis is with us this evening.
Good evening.
Amy, has this been approved by Board of Health?
Board of Health, yes.
Not yet?
Yes, it has been approved.
Oh, it has been approved, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay, do you want to comment first? You want to listen to the engineer?
Listen to the engineer.
Okay, fire away.
Good evening, everybody. Peter Blaisdell, engineer from Williams and Sparagis, representing Mr. Vieira. Just real quick, if you haven't been out there, it's about a 4.5 acre parcel on the south side of Salem Street. Mr. Vieira purchased this property about 2 years ago or so. It's in very poor condition. He's been trying to bring it back up. He actually got our name from another contractor of ours that told him he could help him with the septic system. So that's kind of how he came along to us. I was made aware by Thor from our office that he met yesterday with Taylor, and I'm not sure if Amy was there yet. So first off, we've already told Mr. Vieira that he has to stop doing anything on the site. Truth be told, there is a little bit of a language barrier, so sometimes we will give him some advice or tell him, some things he should or should not do. That might be the issue there, but he's been made aware that he has to fix some of these things. Amy did a great job with the presentation. He's been told that material that's being stored over near the 25 to 50 foot, whether it looks like it's right on the line. Apparently it might be on the Harold Parker Fork, but I believe he's been told that needs to be removed. The disturbance, my understanding is, and I know Taylor and Amy were up there, the gravel driveway that's in the front, apparently he's been trying to rehabilitate that by smoothing it out and filling in some of the holes. So my understanding is that he has not brought in any material, but there was extra gravel or crushed stone in front of the house. He's been trying to excavate that material and sort of grade it back over the gravel drive. My understanding is he has not gone outside the limit of what was the existing gravel drive, so that's at least a good thing. And also apparently there was a landscaped island there in the middle at some point. We didn't locate it in our topo, I think, because it's kind of gone, but he wants to repair the driveway and put that landscaped island back in. As far as the area behind the house, as Amy pointed out, apparently that area had been filled up. There's some trash and debris. I guess he's been trying to remove that and get rid of it. So I'm not 100% sure exactly, what that remediation really could entail. And then as Amy pointed out, we did try to get the septic system out beyond the 200-foot riverfront area, but we kept on hitting ledge. So it ended up being that the front of the septic system is right about 90 feet from the DVW, right around the 100-foot buffer would be the start of the system, and then right at the very end of the system is where the 200-foot riverfront ends. So that being said, whatever the commission wants to do tonight as far as, you know, some of these violations or how you'd like them corrected, we will relay them to Mr. Vieira. Certainly he has to own up to them, and we have instructed him not to do any more work. But that being said, the septic repair plan has been approved, and we're here tonight just to present this to you and see what you'd like to do moving forward.
Okay, thank you. We don't have the P number, or did you get it?
Looks like it wasn't on there today. I believe we checked, and they don't have a full number there yet, nor any comments.
So we have to continue that anyways.
Exactly.
We'll see what the commission wants to do as far as, do we issue an enforcement order? Or can we, in good faith, have staff go out there and tell them what the violations are? Have them rectify it, so when they come back before us in 2 weeks, what do you want to issue an enforcement order?
I think you have two things at play here, three things. The easy one is the septic system.
Yeah.
That's approvable. I think what we have is, during the conversation, Peter, it's Peter, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Joe.
During the conversation, the applicant, as a good homeowner, has ideas of what he wants to do for future activities, and made that, you know, somehow convey that idea to you. Recognizing that an NOI is gonna result in an order of conditions of permit, that's good for 3 years with 2 one-year extensions. It gives him 5 years to ask for and get permission to do whatever his master plan is. If he wants to reestablish a landscape island, ask for it now, because he's not gonna ask for it in the future. It'd be a future violation. Anything he's got in his mind to do, get it on this plan now and let us consider it. So that's gonna prevent future enforcement actions. The existing enforcement actions, I don't see any harm in issuing enforcement. We do it on a friendly basis sometimes. This one's a tenuous basis. It's not hostile, it's not friendly, but it's the motivated to make sure it happens. Typically, we'll say, file a notice of intent within X number of days. It's already here. So as part of this filing, tell us what it is you're gonna do to remediate it. We already told them what we want. They should tell us as part of this NOI what it is they're gonna do, and it becomes part of our order conditions. We may, in our order conditions, not give them the full 5 years to carry it out. We may give them a narrower window to rectify the enforcement, the violations.
Well, the problem is of right now, the NOI is just for a septic system.
I'm saying, come back, I'm saying, we're not gonna close tonight, we're gonna wait a number,
So he's gonna come up with a new.
do some
set-
more stuff.
So you got 2 weeks to go with a new set of plans with his wish list on it. It'd be more favorable to him if, like Mr. Lynch said, that all his wish list is on the plan, what he wants to do, so that,
No, realistically, you know, we don't,
Right.
if he says, I'm gonna reestablish the island, I'd like to do that, well, if it's within 5 years, tell us now.
Yeah, and
Because it is going to be jurisdictional up in that front area.
and then we're gonna issue a friendly enforcement order to alleviate all the violations.
Well, I think we've handled it, we've probably handled it both ways, but we've handled it a different way in the past. And I'm thinking more along the lines of dumping piles, where we will encounter a site that has a project and they'll have a yard waste dump pile within 50-foot no build or 25-foot no disturb. We'll ask them to locate that on the plan and propose to remove that.
As part of the project.
As part of the project.
Right, but cease and desist and no further activities, or the other parts of the enforcement action that Amy spoke to, I think need to be put in the enforcement. Stop using your equipment there, stop bringing more stuff in, that sort of stuff needs to be really clear. And put in writing, because if there is a communication issue, I think in writing it helps get the message across.
Because of the nature of the violation, it's a little bit more severe, I get it.
But the cleanup, absolutely, I see that when you have your equipment's in here, that's the time to clean everything up.
Yeah. Do we want to have them located on the plan?
Well, hopefully, if we issue the enforcement order, it'll be gone by the time we get the amended set of plans. It's got 2 weeks to clean up the mess. It's not that severe, is it, Amy? Taylor?
No,
I mean, if we gotta continue for 2 weeks, if we told him to get it out by the time he reapplies.
Yeah, I mean,
It sounds like the material and the the stuff that he has stored over there, it's just temporary stuff. I think he can move it out of there pretty quickly. And like I said, it sounds like everything else, luckily he didn't do any disturbance or anything like that went, closer to the resource areas. He's just like Mr. Lynch just said, he's doing work within the jurisdictional areas that he doesn't have permission to do at this point. So if you want to issue a friendly enforcement order citing that stuff, then, I'm sure we can, maybe having it in writing might be a little easier to explain to him.
Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll give you a friendly enforcement order. We're gonna continue for 2 weeks. So you can find out what he wants to do and potentially put it on a plan, because he's already filed for the NOI, right? This is
Yeah.
an NOI. So, save him time, money, and get it all done. And then he has 5 years to do what he wants to do.
Yeah, we'll have that conversation with him, Mr. Napoli, and find out, if there's any other things that he wants to do, then maybe we can just add that, like you said, to this plan, and that way you can see it and vote on it.
Okay, so we're gonna issue an enforcement order, and we're gonna continue this application for 2 weeks. Does that work for you, Peter?
I think that's the best way for everybody, yes. Mr.
Okay,
Napoli.
so I need a motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
You get the total.
I'm sorry.
I do have another comment. I'd like to see as part of the NOI, as part of the order of conditions or the proposed project, demarcation of the wetland line, in the vicinity of the house and the gravel driveway. It seems like this homeowner isn't clear with boundaries on his property. So I think this is the time to do it. We demarcate the boundary that we're interested in, which is the wetland line. And it should be done, well, I would like to ask the applicant to propose that, from the boundary line to, at the very least, to the side of the gravel driveway, and possibly on even on the other side.
Do you want it at the wetland line or the no disturb?
Well, the no disturb goes through the corner of the house.
Well, I mean, a reasonable no disturb. Obviously, we can't hold our current one, but if there's something that they could propose, I think it
Well,
would
we
be.
can have staff.
If you look at, so come in the access drive from Salem Street. As soon as you get to the narrow where it widens out into the fan of the front driveway, the main driveway, everything to the left is in the no disturb, so it's already disturbed.
Yeah.
So I'd say those markers would have to go along the limits of the existing disturbance
Yeah.
there, and then reasonably along the edge of that northeasterly edge of the 25 to the back property line. And then similarly around that access drive on the way in, right along that whole edge is in the 25, so that whole edge of that driveway coming in to your right needs to be monumented right up to the Arapaka land.
So let me put it this way, from flags A1 through A5, mark the wetland line there, and then from A6 through A14.
And I'm sorry, I must have misunderstood. You said demarcate the wetland line. Did you mean demarcate the 25-foot no disturb?
That's what we're discussing. I've suggested the wetland line.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think the wetland flags are all there.
I think they're looking.
But permanent markers,
Yeah,
we're
monuments with-
suggesting. Permanent monumentation.
You mean you want to actually put something at each flag?
He's gonna monument here,
Yeah, they put,
Or up gradient, whatever makes more
and then
sense.
pick the 25, and then pick up the 25 to
I
here.
think it might make more sense to demarcate at the edge of existing disturbed
That's
areas.
just what I did,
Yeah.
until you get to here, and then pick up the 25 to here. And then come
whatever
from
you think
here,
is
it's the whole drive,
workable, Amy.
right up to here. Needs to be
Matter of
marked.
fact, you can even designate the areas that you want, where you want them. When you do the pre-construction, you can tell them, show them where you want them. Yes?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay,
But I think it should be noted on the plan,
Yes.
yeah,
just to say, you know,
okay.
that the 25 or edges of disturbance will be monumented.
Do you have do you have a standard post or something like that, Amy, that you like, I know Andover, they have these little placards that they like to use. Sometimes we put them on little posts, or, I mean, do you have something that we could put along the edge of the driveway? This is like no disturbance beyond this point, or would that make more sense?
Yep, we have, we sometimes ask for 4x4 pressure treated posts, and we sell placards that have language on them that you can adhere to those.
I think we can come to a pretty reasonable
Yeah.
compromise on that we can certainly tell him he's got to install some posts, and that way he knows he can't go beyond those points, and that will probably make everyone's life easier.
Amy, this is Joe.
Yep. Yep.
What I'll do, it's hard to put that into words of where we would like them. I'm gonna mock up their sketch with a red line
Okay,
and scan it and get it to Taylor and to you electronically. If you agree with what it is I've showed for where I think we need the monumentation, if you could just share that with the
Sure.
applicants that rep.
yeah, that sounds good.
Because describing it in words is hard.
Yeah,
If you give us a sketch, Mr. Lynch, we can always just add them right to a revised plan as a big circle or something like that, and just label it to say, you know, do not disturb post to be installed, and give us a total number that you want, and we can add it to it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Tony, you have any questions?
No, I think everyone's addressed it, so I'm
Okay,
fine.
good. All right, so we need a motion.
so the motion should be, well, I guess there's two motions, issuing an enforcement order to require cease and desist, and that, that all of the wish lists go on to his plan for the next meeting. And
Yeah, you mind?
remove the stored things that can be easily moved out of the, you know, out of the 50. And then continue the hearing to May 11th. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you know the violations that are out there more than we do.
Yep,
So list what you think can be done,
yep.
and we'll approve the enforcement order. And we're gonna do it,
So we need I
motion.
move that we issue the enforcement order with bullet points as described by Amy in the past minute.
and just on the sidebar, we're gonna have an issue the enforcement order, are we putting a deadline for the 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay, and it's gonna be.
May
two-
11th.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. And now we need a motion to continue.
So moved?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, and that's unanimous. Great, thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks for your help, appreciate it.
Thanks, Peter.
Have a good
Oh,
night.
I'm sorry, sorry.
Oh, was there,
I was worried about the last application, the Kinchencha. I figured you were all there.
Yes.
Go ahead, please come to the podium and.
oh, sorry.
I apologize.
Oh, that's all right, no problem. I'm new at this. We don't have a copy of the plan, unfortunately. We had a death in the family, so we haven't had a chance to look at the plan.
Sorry.
I'm Dennis Hamboyne from 50 Campbell Road, and the land abuts the property that we're talking about here. And I'm very concerned that there were comments about lack of consistency with lot lines and property lines. So we need to have, and what I heard tonight, absolutely, we need a plan of what is being planned, and also enforce the lot lines, not just the, I know Conservation Committee is first and foremost conservation, but there are lot lines here too that need to be enforced. And if,
Plan is stamped, engineered, so once they issue a plan, it's a matter of public record. You can go down to the town hall
right, we're going to get a copy.
and get a
of it.
copy, because this plan is no good, because they're gonna file an NOI, and it's all the stuff that he wants to do. will
Save you a
be-
trip.
Yeah, but all the stuff that he wants to do in the future, he's gonna put on the plan, so this plan
Okay.
is pretty much useless, although the lot lines will be the same, I hope.
Well, that's what I'm hoping too, so.
But whenever he has the plan together, the new plan, you just go down to conservation office and they'll be more than happy to give you a copy.
So if the hearing is by the 11th, when will
11th of
the new
May,
plan be
I think they have to
submitted?
receive it by the week before, correct, Amy?
A week before, yeah.
The week before.
Okay, great.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Yep. All right. So I forgot, so I'll do it again. We need a motion to continue.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. And that was Jack and Tony, Amy.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right, next order of business. RDA for 91 Boston Street.
Alrighty. The proposed work includes the installation of an approximately 12 by 16 shed with an existing lawn area. The areas of disturbance would include the installation of four to six hand dug holes for the installation of a 12-inch diameter concrete sonotubes. Conservation Department staff visited the site, confirmed the wetland line, and confirmed that the proposed shed will be approximately 60 feet away from the wetland. No vegetation or anything like that needs to be removed. It's in the lawn. So no waivers are requested. And so I would just recommend closing the hearing and issuing a negative number 3 with a pre-construction meeting, installation of erosion controls, and post-construction to verify compliance.
Thank you. Joe?
I would add one more condition, that's no storage of any materials during construction within the 50-foot no disturb.
Okay.
All set, Joe?
That's it.
Jack?
Yeah, and I think those first two conditions could be combined into one. Your pre-construction meeting to review the means and methods could also inspect the erosion control.
Okay.
So we'd have 3 conditions. That one, the post, and what Joe said on the storage of materials.
Okay.
Tony?
No questions.
Motion?
Move that we
Is there any abutters?
Oh, I get in trouble again. Are there any abutters for the Boston Street application? Doesn't appear to be. So we need a motion.
I move that we issue a -3 determination with the
Nice purse.
the conditions we discussed, pre and post inspections with our conservation staff, and not storing materials within 50 feet no build zone.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
Okay, just vote to close the hearing too. Just vote to close the hearing too.
So moved. I think that was part of Jack's motion.
I thought so.
The hearing closed.
Yeah, issue a -3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't get technical on us.
I didn't hear it.
I don't think we have a closed determination.
All right. Next one. Small project, number 293, 58 Empire Drive.
Alrighty.
Before we get there,
Yes.
is there a reason we have people still in the room that should we take something out of order to help them out?
Oh, I don't know.
What are you guys here for? Rolling Ridge. Oh, that's straightforward, yeah? 40 candles. Okay, so I'll take Rolling Ridge. That's pretty standard stuff, right?
Yeah.
It has a wrinkle this time around?
We want to build a greenhouse.
Oh, it's not as easy as normal.
Well, yeah, it is. Not bad.
I'm just figuring if they're here, we can help them get home earlier.
Okay.
But we do have people online for 58 Empire.
Okay, so,
Oh, on the TV. I'm sorry.
okay.
We had a room full. I thought they were
Sorry,
here.
we tried to get you out of here, but.
Sorry.
All right, so we have a small project for 58 Empire Drive.
Alrighty, so this is a small project permit to install a privacy fence between them and their neighbors at 52 Empire. The proposed fence will be located approximately 10 feet off the eastern side of the house and will be approximately 61 feet in length. The homeowner is proposing a 6 to 8 inch gap at the base to allow for drainage and wildlife passage. The proposed fence will require 13 posts, which will hold 8 6x8 panels and a gate. Posts will be installed to a depth of 2 feet in the ground, and they're proposing to use gravel fill for the posts instead of concrete. And most of the fence, with the exception of a short stretch, will be located outside of the 50-foot no-build zone. Our field inspector visited the site to observe the location of the fence and observed that there was a new patio and crushed stone that was constructed within the 50-foot no-build zone and a portion of the 25-foot no-disturb zone. The commission may remember that this subdivision was a 40B, so the setbacks to the wetlands were relaxed to some degree, and so the house itself is about 24 feet from the wetland. And then this lot received a stone wall that roughly followed the 25, but in some places it's less than 25. So the patio and the stone, the crushed stone, was installed sometime between 2020 and 2022 without permits. So the patio and the crushed stone are inside the existing stone wall that was required. So it was in lawn, but still without permitting commission. So the applicants are here this evening, and we had to report what we found. So if you guys have questions.
Good evening, everyone. We're I'm sincerely sorry for my lack of knowledge and my lack of due diligence. We weren't aware. We got some misinformation, and I should have probably done a little bit more on my end to seek out permits. We were told that permits were not required, but I shouldn't have gone out off of that advice. I should have really dug a little bit deeper in, and it wasn't difficult to go and seek the permit for the fence. Like I said, it was just misinformation that we received, and we weren't aware. So it was really like a lack of knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
I also wanted to say as well that the crushed stone in the patio, there is no mortar. We are respectful of the fact that there is wetlands around, so anything that we do within our property, we make sure that we're staying as natural as possible.
Okay, Joe?
So there's one thing that Amy said, and I just want to make sure that the record is clear. The subdivision came through as a 40B, and as a subdivision to promote, under 40B to promote affordable housing, makes certain types of local bylaws moot, and they come in through a comprehensive permit through the Zoning Board of Appeals. But in that process, there's an agreement that's reached between the zoning board and various boards and commissions that the final plan that's approved is approved for the development of the project. That doesn't mean that forevermore, each individual lot is exempt. So once that project was completed under 40B, each individual lot, if we're looking to modify anything, needs to comply with the 2550, and therefore not make it any greater than it is. So the apology is understood and maybe even accepted and appreciated, certainly appreciated. But the reality is, I don't know how much the corner of the patio is in the 25 no disturb. If it's minuscule, maybe maybe there's something else as part of the fence project that can return that impact, if there is one. I'm looking at a photograph of the gas grill in the yard area. If it's in an area that's closer, maybe the gas grill simply gets moved to another part.
Yeah,
Of
the
the
gas grill
garage.
can be moved.
That shouldn't be an issue.
So I'm asking staff if that's a reasonable thing. So I'm looking for,
Right.
Sorry.
one is, what's the extent of the 25 impact disturbance? And if it's minuscule, let's agree to that. And if it isn't minuscule, what it is we're gonna expect of this, because it needs to comply, or be forgiven.
It's a small corner, I would say, within.
I mean, you're gesturing in scale, like 6 inches?
Perhaps a little bit more, you know, foot, couple feet into that corner.
What's the corner?
The corner, the rest is out.
So when you were there, the photograph of the gas grill, is that similar to the, is that the corner where the impact is?
Yep, correct.
So if we were to say, move the gas grill further away in exchange for that, in other words, your cooking area, get it out of the impact, potential for impact,
Yeah,
might we be
I
satisfied
think
rather than
that's-
rebuilding it?
In other words,
Yeah,
put
I
the
think
gas
it's
grill
just-
on the other side of the deck.
Yeah, rather than rebuilding the patio.
Right. Does that work for you?
That's me, I mean, you guys may have a different
No, I
perspective.
know, but I'm asking him if that would, you'd be good with that. You can get to keep your deck, but you gotta put your gas grill on the other side.
Absolutely, yeah, that's perfectly fine. We have no problems, no
Right.
issues with that.
That's our tentative proposal. We gotta hear from the other commissioners.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I just want to ask the question, first of all. This is proposed as a small project, and the small project requires that we don't have any waiver requests. And so, I guess my question is the fence,
The fence is a small project, by virtue of the fence, we discovered the bigger issue.
yeah,
Which, you say, does it now make it not a small project?
yeah, yeah.
I kinda, personally, I'm very familiar with Empire Drive. My son lived there for 10 years. So, and I was there for quite a bit of the work. We spent a lot of time on this project. And it's tough, that these houses are on postage stamps. You know, and to penalize this guy, small project for a fence for maybe a 1-foot violation,
So I'm still thinking the fence is a small project,
Right.
and however it is we deal, so however it is we deal with the patio and the grill thing is, maybe it's separated from,
So let's talk about the fence. The fence is outside the 50-foot no build, but, I mean, it's inside the 50 no build, but outside the 25-foot no disturb. That's not, that's
waiver.
not a,
It's not a
not
waiver.
a waiver
It doesn't
request.
require a waiver.
Okay, just want to make sure I had that right, because it crossed that boundary. Now, the second question is, the patio, and does that require an NOI? Does the total project require an NOI? That's kind of what I'm
I think
struggling with.
I think the two things should stand alone. I think the fence is a small project, and then what we decide to do with the deck, it should be a separate issue.
so I'll put on the table that we issue an enforcement order to the owner that says no alterations are to occur greater than what is already there within the 25, already close to the 25, and that you shall move the gas grill within within 14 days. And that's a separate enforcement order, tells them to do it, memorializes that decision, and the fence stands on its own.
I have issue with, if there's a valid comprehensive permit, because there's still a housing restriction, and the ZBA granted them the waiver to the local, and they were permitted to go within, up to the stone wall, and their work was within the stone wall, I think we're on the right track in that we let the work kind of stand, pick up that additional area where the grill is, and it's a enforcement order to get the
That's the
grill moved.
justification of why we're doing it.
Yes.
I agree.
So we're, you know.
I was doing that in my head, but you're right saying that.
Right, so they haven't gone beyond the 25-foot that they were permitted to under that comprehensive permit.
Right.
So it's a little different than other enforcements that we've handled with.
Agreed.
And as long as the affordable housing restriction stays in place, the comprehensive permit's in place, so we're just honoring the ZBA's waiver of those. And I think that would, even if the small project required any sort of relief, it still exists, so. I
And
think
what's our estimate of encroachment within the 25?
I would say it's a foot, no more than a couple of feet.
Couple feet.
And that, but that
2
25.
feet?
The existing corner of the house is 24 feet from the wetland.
Yeah.
So I would say it's another 2 or 3 feet
Yeah,
max.
So
But it's-
20-foot setback.
But that stone wall there was the one that was placed.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
know.
that was placed as the
As part
edge
of
of disturbance.
Yeah.
Farmer's wall was existing.
So that was, that's what was required to
Yeah,
delineate.
'cause my son's house was on the same side of the street. Matter of fact, maybe 2 houses down from that. But that, he had the farm, that whole farmer's wall ran along the whole side of, that whole backside. From where the houses were, where they had the common drive with the 3 houses. From there, all the way to the detention pond, I think the wall goes, that old farmer's wall. So, all right, so we're gonna approve the fence?
Yes.
Do that first? You wanna do the wall?
To the enforcement order first,
All right,
since we still have something before us.
all right, fire away, Joe.
So issue enforcement order to notify the landowner, which gets recorded, that the limit of disturbance that exists there as of this date is the limit of disturbance, without further consideration of this commission. They would need to come back and ask to do anything else beforehand. Put that on notice. 2 is that within, I said 14 days, but be reasonable. They can move it tomorrow. The gas grill will be moved to the opposite side of that patio.
To a location outside the 25?
Outside the 25.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
opposite side of the deck, we'll do that.
Yeah.
If you look at
Wherever
the
they want,
picture-
outside the 25.
If you
And,
look at the picture, you'll see.
we don't typically do it in an enforcement order, but I think the record stands that we've done that only because they stayed within the no disturb area as defined by that wall. So we don't need to put that in the enforcement order. So really, it's only 2 things: notify disturbance, no more, and 2 is to move the grill.
Outside the 25?
Outside the 25.
Okay.
I'll
second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay,
That's
now
unanimous.
the fence.
All right, now the fence.
So
I move that we consider the project proposed at 58 Empire Drive as a small project, category H.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
And I also move that we consider said small project, category H, for 58 Empire Drive to be approved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. You're all set.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time, committee, and thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
You too.
thank you.
Okay, next one. The small project renewal, number 93, 660 Great Pond Road. We didn't tie you up that long much.
So the-
Okay, I assume you got a copy of the conservation plan that we have our annual plan we give you because of the farming activities we're doing over there. And that part of that included the mention that we are hoping to put up a greenhouse. It'll have a metal frame and plastic panels that slide into it. It'll be anchored to the ground with helical auger bolts that you just screw down into the ground. You don't have to excavate or pour concrete or anything like that. And we'll probably put a layer of pea stone on inside to walk on. So if there's anything growing there now, it would be under that.
Fran,
Yes?
can I just interject?
Yeah.
So I didn't give the commission a rundown on the greenhouse yet. I forwarded the annual report for the renewal of the permit.
Uh-huh.
But because we have that outstanding question about whether that the proposed greenhouse would be in the CR. I wasn't comfortable kind of introducing it right now because I don't really, I can't give them an answer as to whether it would be in or out of the conservation
Okay,
restriction.
well, I went out today and did a lot of measurements with the conservation easement plan, restriction plan that you sent, and have a couple of site plans that I can pass.
So wait a minute, what you're
along.
saying is as usual, what we're dealing with is simply the annual report. And that as part of their actions moving forward, which is usually the end of the report, what are their next year's plans? We can continue the discussion on the greenhouse or any other activity that may be still out there that you haven't reached a conclusion on at the next meeting? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it tonight, but I'd want to verify kind of what Fran's saying tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
I would like to go ahead though and at least show the commission what I've got here, and I think there are several places we can put this thing where it is.
Could you speak into the microphone?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think there are several places where we can put the greenhouse that is outside of the buffer zone, outside of the conservation restriction area, and outside of the 400-foot setback from Lake Cochituate. So that's.
If you did that, we wouldn't have to even discuss it.
Well, the original place that I was talking to Amy about putting it turned out to be within the restricted area, although it was outside the other two areas.
So if you get it out, then we don't even have to talk about it. We just have to renew your plan. You're right, renew your license.
Okay, well,
Let's just verify the setbacks and.
yeah, let me just
and we can do it
pass these
for real.
around and
She's by voter admission,
follow up
she just said I could put it
as
somewhere else.
fit.
We want to know about it, though.
I'll wait till that gets passed around. Just by way of background, I used to work for conservation commissions in Wyndham and in Reading, and so I'm not a surveyor, and I have just added the information here by hand, but I did take a lot of measurements, and I think it's reasonably accurate. There are two site plans here. One is the as-built site plan for when Rolling Ridge paved portions of their driveway, and that one shows the wetlands and the lake and the watershed setbacks and the buffer zones and all of that kind of thing, as well as the house where the director lives up near Great Pond Road. And then the other plan is the conservation restriction plan, which shows a rectangle around that house near Great Pond Road that is outside of the conservation restriction area. And then the restriction area is a significant portion of the property. I've drawn on both of these a rectangle which shows the location of the fence around the garden as I measured it. And I've put 3 potential locations for the greenhouse labeled A, B, and C. C is sort of at the south end of the fence, and A and B are along the western side, one inside of the fence and one just outside of the fence. And all 3 of those are within that unrestricted area related to the house rather than in the conservation restriction area. And most of our garden is also in that unrestricted area, although the north end goes into the restricted area. And our shed may well be within that area too. So originally I'd proposed to put the greenhouse along the north side of the fence, which would have been in the restricted area. So that's what I have to show you about that.
Okay, so what what we should do is approve your permit for
The license.
the license. And we'll continue the shed until which time Amy can look at it with you.
Okay.
And then that would come before us. How big is it?
Yeah, that's.
8 feet by 20 feet.
So that comes under our small project? Amy?
Well, if it's outside the buffer zones, it's not gonna need a wetland
I
permit.
haven't got the criteria of a small project.
Does it require a building permit?
It does require a building permit, and
That it's a structure.
we will seek that one. And also, I'm talking with the town planner about the watershed district.
Yeah, 100 square feet, so 10 by 10 is exempt under a small project. Anything bigger is
Yeah, state
at
building
least an
code's
RDA.
120 square feet.
Yeah.
But it's outside of the buffer zone, so I don't think it needs a wetland permit.
Well,
Correct.
if
Where
she
we're
puts it
proposing
outside the
to-
buffer, there's,
Yeah, there's nothing.
None of it's in the buffer. The only thing is if it's in the restriction. If these
Yep.
plans are accurate, and you're staying outside of the CR, I don't think we have anything to say about it. But the building inspector does, so let's be clear, not us.
Yeah.
It's just the
Yeah.
building inspector.
so that's what you have to do, is you have to verify where they're gonna put it, or the building inspector has to verify you where it is. And it's not in the conservation restriction, then it doesn't require any, thing from us. It's out of the buffer, it's out of the conservation restriction.
Right. But,
It's
yeah,
on the
and I
watershed.
just didn't have that information,
You didn't have that.
no.
Yeah, right, this all happened today,
It all
because
has
Amy
to
just
go-
noticed it.
That's why I
yeah.
said we'll just do the garden permit first,
Mm-hmm.
and
I
then,
think, I really recommend we take no actions. It's very informative. I think we got a better understanding of what they're proposing. But I don't think there's any haste in us voting one way or another on something that may not even be our jurisdiction.
no, we're just, we're
Just-
not even gonna
just
put it
table
on,
it.
just table it.
But the
Table the greenhouse, but approve
greenhouse, the annual report we
renewal.
want, and the
Yeah.
license we
Yeah.
need to do, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So is there any discussion on that? Joe?
Well, Al's not here, so I'll ask the question. How are the fruit trees and the berries holding up? Are the deer eating them alive, or is the fence working?
The fences seem to be working, and if you come out right now, you'll see all kinds of pretty flowers on the trees. So we're hoping that maybe we'll get a crop this year. It takes a few years for fruit trees to really get their roots in there and start producing, but, yeah.
And just a reminder of the agricultural permit, things that you're using, fertilizers or not.
Right, it's
tell
all
us that.
organic sourced materials, like blood meal and things like that we use.
You had a young lady who was Eagle Scout candidate at the time, who's now an Eagle Scout.
Yes.
Who built a compost toilet, which was
Right.
very interesting. How's that working out?
It's great. It's very easy to use and take care of, and it's saving us $140 a month not to have to rent a porta potty. So that's been a real boon.
She was on the
Yeah,
front,
that's
she
awesome.
was on the front cover of North Shore magazine.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's a different girl. That's a different girl.
Yeah.
No, that's the
Same
same
girl?
girl.
Yeah.
First Eagle Scout-
Marie Hurst is her
It
name.
is her, yeah. It is her, Marie,
And
yeah.
her mom is on the board of the garden. So, yeah.
Jack?
Nothing else?
Yeah, I applaud your work on this site with our soil conservation plan. I applaud your efforts to keep us posted on your plans for next year and how you're moving forward. And thank you for including Amy early on in the process so that we can do things right and make it easy for everyone else.
Yep. Good. All right.
Thank you. Oh, Tony.
No comments, I saw that you're looking to add drip irrigation, which hopefully that works out well.
Yeah, and we got another Eagle Scout working on that.
Excellent.
So, yeah, we love our scouts. They've been great.
So do we take notes?
Don't need a motion.
I move to renew NACC number 93, soil conservation plan for 660 Great Pond Road for 1 year.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Should I amend it to have the
With
conditions?
table in the greenhouse.
For what?
I don't know if there's 3 conditions for, upon completion of yearly farming activities, submit an annual report. The water commission holders of the CR shall be notified of the renewal of the organic farm permit, and only organic weed and pest control shall be used on the site.
So that was all stated in the annual report, but absolutely, those should be conditions
All
for
right,
the next
yeah.
years as well.
Yep, yep, that's,
I think those are the conditions of.
I second your
All right.
I second your amendment.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. We'll just get together, Fran, sometime.
I'll get in touch tomorrow.
Right.
40 Candlestick Road.
Alrighty, so in response to a building permit for a proposed generator, our field inspector visited the property to confirm a location for it relative to the wetlands. During that site visit, he observed several violations within the 50 and the 25, including construction of patios, retaining walls, piling of stone on the sloped area leading to the BBW. We issued a cease and desist and asked him to attend this meeting and install erosion controls at the edge of disturbance, which he has done, and he's been very cooperative thus far. We researched historical aerials, and the fences date back to 2001. From 2005 on, previously lawn surfaces were converted to patios and hard surfaces. And then since 2005, those footprints have expanded. And so we have an as-built plan from 1995 that shows the house and the edge of disturbance, which had a loose rock wall. And I believe the existing retaining walls may have taken the place of that rock wall, I believe. I don't know, you correct me if I'm wrong, Taylor.
Yes. More or less, it's a little bit more extensive than what's shown in the photos.
Okay.
I don't know if we have those attached.
I think I had everything included in the packet.
So this is from back in 95, deeper in the file. You can sort of see a little bit of a retaining wall there. Not the greatest photo, just something to compare.
So when the house was built, the no-build zone was relaxed in some areas. And in one area, it was waived down to 32 feet. But it appears that perhaps the wetlands have crept up closer to the house since 1995, based on vegetation. In 2019, our field inspector, Ben Curl, issued a tree removal letter allowing for the removal of a very large pine tree. So I think we need to kind of know where the edge of wetland is now, to understand how close things are and what would be allowed and what wouldn't, keeping in mind that the 50 was waived down at the time of construction of the house, so.
This plan that we have here, is this current or is this old?
At the as-built, 95.
95.
There's been no permitting activity since the original construction.
No.
On the record, I mean, there were activities that required permits, but not permits.
Not with us, just the tree removal letter and when the house was built under that order.
So you're saying some of the stuff in some of the newer aerials weren't here then, recently?
Right.
You got, before this plan, so the plan's changed since
Site conditions have changed since the 95 as-built, yes.
All right, so we ignore the wetlands for now. We're just saying that stuff has been built since then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And according to the old wetland plan, there's one point that they're 23 feet away.
Back in that era, I was a rookie on the commission. I think it came before '93. It wasn't unusual that under certain circumstances, waivers were granted, so long as there was something given up elsewhere. Was this one of the projects where we may have waived the 25/50?
I think you waved down the 50-foot no-build zone.
But not the,
Not the
25. Okay, that's one big, so this is one of the ones we waived the no-build. Okay, I thought so.
Yep.
Not bad memory for almost 30 years. Scary.
I'm impressed.
Scary. Same owner that's before us now from the, yeah, so I guess that kind of sums it up. So what we have is an as-built plan which proved compliance for certificate of compliance at the time.
Yep.
The owner and the bank needed that to clear title, otherwise it'd be an order of conditions outstanding on it, so they got that. So they had notice when they bought it, they noticed when they built it, they had notice when they knew they had to get a certificate, and they knew it when they recorded the certificate of compliance. So they had 4 opportunities to know where the line was. Everything they did after that with full knowledge, so they were in violation to the conditions, or at least bring it to our attention. So as far as the early discussion that we had about a very small impact on a 40B, this is completely different than that.
Yeah.
In my opinion. We're not out there aggressively looking for violations, far from it. We only know about this because they needed a permit for a generator. It goes through the routing, we sign off, and if it's jurisdiction, we say so, if it's not. So through that process, we discovered all this.
Yep.
So, but you have, because of that, they have enjoyed years and years and years of just doing what they want and not being caught. I don't even think the generator is on ground for discussion until we resolve the violations. The generation is almost a non-factor. But we now know the violations, so they're real. Have we issued the enforcement order yet, or we just
Yes.
drafted one?
Yep, so
Okay.
you'd have to ratify and amend it.
Okay.
Yeah, we have
I
an
have some
enforcement order.
suggestions.
Amy sent them a letter, and she asked them for corrective actions, 5 points. The point number 4 is for the homeowner to attend the meeting tonight and receive some direction from the commission on how to bring the lot back into compliance. So I think that's what we're dealing with
Yeah.
tonight.
Are you the homeowner? Yes. Okay. Why don't you come up to the front, state your name and.
Yes, I'm Rich Mather from 40 Candlestick Road, and I'm kind of, what I recall when we bought the house is, as Taylor pointed out, there's a sloped area, and I kind of used that as the line. When we got the tree cut down, I guess, again, the tree was also within, or, outside of the 25-foot zone. But I wasn't aware of all the needs for the things like the walkways. The retaining wall is part of the walkway, so I didn't have to taper the dirt. So all that was being just replaced. Same walkway, brick pavers, but different perimeter on the edge, using the concrete blocks, the architectural block.
I don't know how we're gonna go through this. Because to be truthful, I'm a real stickler for the 25.
Yeah.
I don't want anything in the 25. And like Mr. Lynch says, you've been here for X number of years, and you kind of like been encroaching. I mean, I'm looking at a picture, and it says stone stockpiled in the 25, or actually in the BVW. Yeah, I mean, that's enough. If we can't enforce the 25, we might as well stay home and watch the baseball game.
Well, I don't think the wall is the 25. I don't think that sloped area was the 25.
Well, he went out there, so he saw it, and he clearly showed that there's material stockpiled in the 25.
Yeah, actually, I maybe didn't speak on a turn, but there's something that may have changed from the 1995 period until today, and that is, the line was the line that was preserved until they got the certificate of compliance. So if there was any migration of movement of that line, beaver activity or anything else, the line at each time an activity was made needed to be known. So wherever the line was in 95 isn't forever. It's valid until they got their certificate of compliance, and every time they needed to do something in their yard, the very first thing should have been a picked up phone call and said, look, I'm planning on doing X. They'd come out, reestablish the line, and we'd say whether that's jurisdictional or not, what you could do or not. So relying on where the wall was, where the slope was, where the line was in 95 is sort of all moot, knowing that it was there at that time, knowing it's close enough that I need to ask somebody the question. So the fact that over those 25, 30 years, things change. Things do change. Lines move. Sometimes they get further away, oftentimes they get closer.
The as-built plan shows that landscape wall. I'm wondering if that's kind of like the limited disturbance wall that we asked for now.
I don't know if we still asked for them back then.
Wait, wow, if we didn't always ask for the walls, what we did is this was my own recollection, if we waived the no build, we then wanted a physical barrier. So if that's there, it's probably because we required it.
Yeah, that's just, because I see, it looks like, they wrote in 23 feet and then added that wall after the fact, so that's kind of why I wondered. It'd be nice to know where that wall.
So Taylor and Amy, in your review of getting prepped for this meeting, did you look at that, the original, now remember, did Candlestick come as a subdivision and houses as one? Or did the roadway come in as one NOI and each house come in individually? This may have been one that came in as a
whole
single,
unit, I would-
as a single filing.
Back then, that was all, they did all one.
This is George Farr, I think? George Farr?
With Joe Flynn.
Joe Flynn.
So we have one for just 40 Candlestick, and then we have lots 1 through 3.
Yeah, so this was lot 3.
The
Yeah.
roadway was almost positive was part of the subdivision, the whole thing.
So, we can review what we did approve back in 95 and the setbacks that may be different from what we do now, but let me make a suggestion. Our most recent plan here is 1995. It's 2022 now, so, quite a few years later, and it sounds like some things have gone on. The lot has new features. Some things were added: walkways, walls, gravel piles, things like that. I think for us to advise you on how to comply with the Wetlands Protection Act and our bylaw, usually the first step is to generate a plan, a surveyed plan, and redelineate the line, the wetland line. Those are the two biggest pieces of information we need to help you, get into compliance. And we're willing to work with you to give you enough time to do that. But you could put in there existing conditions, and then we could talk about what would be in bounds for a compliant project and what would need to be removed. I think that's kind of the process that we use. Does that sound reasonable to you?
Oh, absolutely. All I know is, like I said, the, what we'll call is it the sloped wall? Because that was, throughout the whole back of the house. And I was very diligent to never go out beyond that.
Yeah.
I did, because of the, I guess if you can see in this, I don't know if you have seen this picture, this was before I started this recent work. Just pass that around.
Do you have that one?
We may have a scan of that, but yours is better, I bet.
There wasn't a lot of space in there from where that walkway that goes to my bulkhead door in the rear of the house, and that sloped wall. And over time, you know, it was kind of washing. And so I tried to reinforce that by putting rock on top of the existing sloped rock to try to hold it there. And, you know, the right intent, wrong process. And
Yeah,
you know, I thought I was doing the right thing, and it was the wrong thing.
Well,
So,
yeah,
can I,
Amy, oh, go ahead, Amy. Yeah.
oh, I just wanted to read from the actual order of conditions for this lot. Condition 13 talked about establishing a 25-foot no disturbance zone and a 50-foot no build. One area of exception to the 50-foot no build occurs between flags A3 and A7. As indicated on the plans, the no build zone will be waived 32 feet. In order to mitigate any damage to the BVW resulting from this waiver and discourage further encroachment into the bordering vegetated wetland, a stone landscape wall constructed at a height of 2 by 2 above grade shall be installed on the upland side of the indicated erosion control, running from the location due south to the right corner of the house. So it was, you know, there is I mean,
Physical barrier.
you still have 25 and 50, but in this one particular stretch between A3 and A7, you waived it down to 32 with the requirement of a fieldstone wall. Just so,
So the applicant referred to that wall, so it was required, it was conditioned as a physical barrier. It's still there, and he was relying on it as his limit of where he could go. Not without permission, but the limit, the physical limit, he could go no further. He would still require a permit inside it, but at least it's not a physical violation. You know, encroachment, not a physical encroachment, I should say. Is that correct?
I think so. I mean, Taylor was the one on site, so.
You know, there is additional stone that I would say likely, from what I can see based off of our photos from the old file, it seems the wall is a bit more expansive than what was there based on the photos from 1995.
Yeah, so I came out of the gate, as usual, coming out with the harsh comments, because I think they're real. We take this stuff seriously.
Yes.
I am going along with what Jack says. I mean, if you look at the enforcement order, the things we needed them to do, he's pretty much has done.
Yes.
Right, with the exception of what it is we're gonna ask him to do moving forward. Yeah, I'm fully recognizing it took 25 years to create this problem. I think we can establish a reasonable time frame to allow him to get a line established and a plan prepared, so we understand what that magnitude is, allow us to research that, verify it, and then from there formulate, so what is the real impact and what's the real remedy here? I think you know, I'd say that if you can get a wetland line delineated within 30 days and a plan to us with an additional 30 days or a total of 60 days, and then, you know, appear, you know, to submit something to us for review, that will give us an opportunity to then say that an NOI no later than 120 days.
I think that's reasonable. I was gonna say maybe even give them another 30 days, just because I know how busy everything is. Say 30 days to engage a wetland
Yeah.
scientist and surveyor, 30 days to delineate, and just because we're heading into.
Yeah, so that's the approach. Jack, thank you for talking me off the ledge, because, you know, that's a reasonable approach. It took a long time to get here. I think there were best intentions, clearly some issues, but I think in the long run, if we go through a process that makes sense, we may find that we're able to accept some of those violations as minimal impacts, because they are inside that physical boundary.
And we can make informed decisions that.
Yeah, we got something to work with. We don't
Yeah.
pictures and stuff that's 25 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
So,
get an order of conditions for the work. And
You're still the oldest
Am I? No, Al's the oldest.
tonight.
Oh, tonight, thanks.
But yeah, no,
So ratify and amend the enforcement order to require engaging a wetland consultant within 30 days, having the delineation done within 30 days after engagement, and then a plan by date certain.
Yeah, existing conditions.
Plan.
By 30 days after that, so that would be.
That's 90.
90, and then.
60, 90.
And then 120 days on the notice of
To
intent.
file an NOI, 100.
Okay.
You got the notes, I can't write this.
Yeah, no,
fast.
we'll send you a new letter.
You'll get a new letter.
We're talking our language.
We'll give you plenty of.
I think in the overall scheme of things, you'll be pleased with the approach we're taking.
Yeah, communication's key too, so, again, it's better to inform us if a deadline can't be met and say that.
Than
you know,
ignoring it.
Then just say, so if you find out 90 days in that your engineer and your wetland scientist can't hit the 120 days, come back and say, well, it's gonna be 135, but, just.
And you, I can come to Taylor for
Yes.
names and.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah, that's,
Oh, yeah.
the more you talk to Amy and Taylor, the better off you'll be.
Yes.
So,
Yes. All right, so we're not issuing any fines and all that
No,
stuff,
no.
so. No, I know, I'm just covering all the bases. All right, so
If he misses any one of those deadlines without informing us,
yeah.
Yeah, then
we'll
then
have
we'll
another
talk.
discussion, but I think those are all attainable and reasonable.
Okay, all right, so we need a motion for the enforcement order? Ratify the enforcement order, right, Amy?
Yeah, ratify and then amend it as discussed.
Yeah. So I move that we ratify the order with the amendments we just stated.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll make this right.
Yeah,
Confident.
all righty.
So we'll send you a updated letter with all the information.
The next one,
Yes, we have a consultant list, but we'll give
before we get into this,
any questions.
is, Amy, is
Thank you.
Alan Jackson?
Alan Walker's with us
Okay.
online.
I want to speak to him first, and then we'll move accordingly. Can we, Alan, are you on the air?
I think you're muted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. This is the chairman. Have you met all the criteria of the enforcement order?
I believe we have at this point, except for the evaluation of impacts to ecology, habitat, and flora and fauna, which I had notified Amy about that. Our ecological risk assessor is out of the country. He returns next week because I really need him to provide the appropriate comments associated with the ecological impacts.
And that's the only bullet that we are missing?
Yes.
Is that correct, Taylor?
Right. So we received a letter from Mr. Walker late this afternoon, like 10 to 6, and I shot it off to you guys by email. He provides a summary of the Clean Harbors investigation findings, requests a extension for Tony Rodolakis's evaluation for his findings. And then he does provide an evaluation recommendation from remedial options for the town's consideration. I really haven't had a chance to delve into it. But I think in terms of what's missing is the ecological risk assessment from Wood.
And that's part of the enforcement order.
Mhm.
And once they have that, then the enforcement order is complete.
In terms of what we were looking for.
Okay.
For deliverables.
Right, so the next step after that, then we should be resolving that issue. the oil spill will be resolved after that, we get that last report?
Well, I would say that, well, in terms of gathering information, but in terms of actual physical remediation, no. And I noticed that, just briefly, that in Alan's letter today, he is proposing some removal of petroleum within the hummocks with certain techniques. So, you know, again, I haven't had time to.
But this is gonna be, all the stuff that you have questions of is based from what Clean Harbors has to do and what Ellen has to do, correct? It's not that we have to do, or GCI, or what?
GEI?
No, just, you know, we would want GEI to review this latest letter from Alan.
Okay.
And we'd want to get Wood's ecological risk assessment and have
Okay.
GEI review it.
All right, so Alan, what I'm suggesting is, because I wasn't too happy with last meeting, as far as things, it seems like we were getting spoon-fed. This has been going on for 2 months. So what I suggest, and if the commission agrees with me or not, we're gonna continue the enforcement order, continue the fines, until he has all the stuff, and then come before us. Because we get a report the day of the meeting that has been reviewed by nobody, not even our third-party review, so this is useless. And he's still got a report that he hasn't filed yet. So, we gotta get it all, you know, we're gonna keep this going on forever? I mean, a truck spills 10,000 gallons of gasoline on the highway. It doesn't take half as long as we're looking for 200 gallons of reclamation. I mean, it's just, I don't understand. So what I would say is, unless you have some outstanding questions, which I don't think we do, I think the last meeting, we pretty much said it all. I think we should just continue it until we have all the documentation that we need and read by our LSP, because I don't, you know, maybe Joe and Tony know about this stuff, but I don't. And probably Joe Jack does too.
I know enough to ask questions, I don't know enough to read it and digest on my own.
So that's why we have Sabulas.
I'm a dirt guy, I was never good in chemistry.
So that's where I'm heading, if the commission's for that.
Yeah, I think we should acknowledge we have received the Wood report. It's in our folders. It's what we asked them to do, which, if you remember, he kept saying it's a process in order to issue the final report, and we import upon him, we need as soon as you have preliminary findings, report those to us. It's got a lot of disclaimers up front, but at least he gives us a level of confidence of what they found so far. And to me, it's pretty positive when you read it.
No, I'm not denying it, and I appreciate him supplying this, but it's the day of the meeting, nobody's.
Oh, no, the Wood report is from a couple weeks ago.
It was from the.
Well, he just
Yep.
gave Amy a report for today.
That was a
right?
letter today.
That was the letter for today.
And we have reviewed it, not that I could anyways, and
I'm only pointing out that 2 meetings ago, when Mr. Wood was on the TV with us at the meeting, we pressed him pretty hard. He was maintaining that he couldn't issue a report until he hit that finish line. And we said, look, as you're moving through, you're already formulating what the next thing you're looking for. We asked for this preliminary report, and I'm acknowledging we received it.
We received it, I think, on time, too.
Yeah.
And then Mike
Yes,
Sabulis
yes.
did review that, and he gave us
Right.
his
I thought this was
comments.
the report that we received today.
No,
No.
this,
But
No,
We don't have that here at all.
Well, I know, I don't know what they are.
we do have it on email.
I
But we
haven't
have-
read it yet.
We have this one, the one today that we just got. He has to supply another one. And that'll relieve us of the enforcement order pending the site,
review by GEI,
okay, so, we
and
got,
then technical plans.
instead of having meetings to talk about stuff that we're still waiting for, I don't
Right.
think we should have a meeting, and we should continue the fines, and until we get what we want.
I'm with you. The enforcement order was clear.
Yeah, I think it was.
And compliance has been delayed, so that's what fines are for.
Right,
I
so,
don't know.
So, just so to refresh your memories, the fines were related to VPH testing that Clean Harbors didn't do in the beginning. So we fined retroactive from the March 9th enforcement order until we received those sets of data. And so we have, so those fines have stopped, but that was very specific to VPH
The
testing.
VPH, right.
So I hear that you guys want to do another set of fines for the wood ecological risk
does
assessment?
that report that you, well, the report that you have, was that gonna relieve the, what we were after with the enforcement order?
Say that again?
The report that you got today, that we issued the enforcement order for?
No.
No.
No, it was just, well, it was one of the components of
Okay.
the,
So we don't have all the components,
right,
all right? So we keep the enforcement order in place
right,
until all components have been received,
right.
okay? And
But you said continue fines, but I just wanted to clarify why you fined the last time. It was VPH testing. They've done that, and we have the VPH results.
well, then we're gonna.
So those fines stopped.
They've stopped as soon as they did that testing.
All right, so now we're gonna amend the enforcement order. The fines will continue until all the information that was required for the enforcement order. Does that work?
We're tough, but I don't want to be unfair. If the first enforcement order had fines that were tied to TPH sampling and analysis, they've done that. They still have an enforcement order. If we find that they continue to be, if we find that they are continuing to be out of compliance, we should establish fire a new gun, fines beginning today, not continuing over that window between the two.
Well, the fines are till today. We have fines till today, correct?
No.
No, you got the TPH's results a
TPH
couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Week and a half ago?
So the fines have stopped. Is that what
Yeah.
you're telling me?
Yeah.
A couple
Okay.
weeks ago, yeah.
All right, so now I want to issue a new enforcement order with fines starting today that will continue until we get all the components of the enforcement order. Joe, this has been going on for 3 months.
I know, I'm getting tripped up on how do we account for that?
Non-compliance of an enforcement order.
I think we just have to be specific as to what's missing.
Yeah, we need to be specific, exactly. Amy, the fines were tied to the enforcement order that was in place, which required them to do a whole bunch of things, including the TPH.
Yes,
But the fines were to end when the TPH requirement was satisfied.
yes,
At least the documentation of it was.
that's right.
Meaning the rest of the enforcement order continues to run with no fines attached to it.
Right,
So what I'm saying is, if we're so inclined, if that's where this conversation's going, as of tonight, we're telling them, you need to do these other things in a timely fashion, and because you haven't, you've already let things slip, fines are beginning again tonight.
Correct.
I don't want them to run all the way back to the
Oh,
beginning.
no, I mean tonight.
But I don't think you need another enforcement order. I think you just amend the enforcement order
That's
to
what I
total,
said.
to start new fines tonight.
That's what I said originally.
So we've got the technical memorandum from Wood Environmental. We've got GEI's analysis of that, where they identified some deficiencies.
yes.
Okay, so what do we want Clean Harbors and Wood Environmental to do is we want them to get rid of those deficiencies, satisfy them.
Right.
Bulk up your technical analysis to meet the requirements that GEI has put out. So if we want to, so they've asked for an extension to get, to provide that additional information for the technical memo.
Yes.
And they wanted to, so I think what we can do is give them a date certain on when they should provide that. And they've asked for, the guy who's on vacation, they've asked for, well, they say he's on vacation, and they want us to consider that as an extension.
So our next hearing's May 11th?
May 11th.
Yep.
Would it make sense, so he's on vacation until the 1st of May, according to this.
Okay.
Fine start on May 7th if we don't receive. That would give 4 days to turn it around to GEI to review.
But is that all they need? Is that the only thing they need?
That's the way I'm reading this, is that the only thing they have is they acknowledged the GEI comments and noted that Tony Rodolakis is out of the country, and he's the one that would
So that's the only one component we need, Amy?
Yeah, we need Tony
All right,
and
so
his evaluation.
All right, so, all
I
right.
like Mr. Cappuccetti's approach.
I
It's
agree.
fair.
All right, I don't know, but I am not believing.
So again, we're not, the only amendment to the enforcement order, actually, right now, there isn't. Because we are acting on an extension of that particular deadline until the 7th of May.
Yeah, so
And on the 11th of May, had they not, then the fines, be clear,
Yeah.
we will put them in place effective May 7th. We can say that tonight.
yes, I think that makes
Yeah.
sense, and we're not being burdensome. on-
May
Getting-
7th
are you
is
getting
a-
all this?
May 7th is a Saturday. Why don't we make it May 6th?
May 6th, okay, yeah.
We'll
no,
make it
that's-
May 6th.
Yeah, and that way,
Noontime, May 6th, because Amy quits at noontime.
yeah, and that'll give GEI
Excuse me.
hopefully a week to review.
I don't always quit at noon, just so you know.
The door locks.
It's always later.
All right, so, okay, so we need a motion.
I don't think we do.
Yeah, I move, well, I
Yeah, we
move
should move,
yeah,
we should
we
move
should.
the,
we amend
Yeah.
the enforcement order
To extend the deadline.
to May 7th, and
For the revisions
For the-
to
for
the
the
technical
revision.
memorandum.
required from Wood,
And if-
by
Okay.
noon on May 6th. And if not received, they should be aware that fines,
We'll start it.
Could-
will recommence on May 6th.
yes.
Yes,
And continue it every day thereafter,
yes.
So,
until they reach compliance. Second.
thank you.
Okay, we good? We have a motion and a second?
Made it, seconded.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Okay. Thank you, Alan.
All right. Thank you. Just a question. Has GEI finished their comments on the Woods
Not yet.
memo there?
Yes,
They
you
said
are.
They're gonna review it and provide comments. Are those available yet?
Oh, no, I don't have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought she already had.
No, he
I
just,
was thinking of other comments.
he just received, Amy just received the report today, so.
We're talking about the wood report from the 15th.
No,
Oh,
no.
But Mike hasn't finished that review yet, correct?
Right.
I thought he had.
Okay,
He just got back, did he just get back to work this week? I think so, right?
Well,
No,
he's
he's on
actually-
vacation this week.
He's on vacation this week.
This week he's away, all right.
okay, so we're finished. Next one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Good night, Alan.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, and this one will be quick and easy. Amy, 40 Flagship Drive.
So, Bill Linsky, he's on the call with us, but he has been in contact with me. He has received the signatures of the downstream abutters where the wetland impacts are. Maureen Harold of Norse is working to update and finalize the notice of intent. She's going to try to get it to me this week, if not Monday.
Excellent.
So, I don't know, Bill, if you wanted to add anything, but that's where we're at.
No, so we'll just leave everything the way it is until we receive the NOI.
The site's
Yeah,
stable
yeah.
and there's no work, so.
With
What's
just
that?
that
I didn't hear, you went blacked out on us.
Oh, the site is stable and no work is going on,
Okay.
so.
All right, so we don't have to take any action on 40 Flagship Drive. Okay, next page.
Thanks for coming, Bill.
Thank you.
Who?
guys.
Good night.
Oh. I didn't know we had somebody on here. All right, MVP Action Grant Application. I need a support letter.
Sure, so, Community Development Office, is working on an MVP grant application that will assist the town to develop street tree and urban forest inventory and evaluation, obtaining LiDAR information, assess the climate vulnerability areas, policy review, soil sampling, and a general operation and maintenance recommendations for the town with regard to tree planting, long-term care, and the like. I don't know if the commission's aware that through the Amazon development agreement, the town will be getting $700,000 for tree planting, and we'll be getting that incrementally over like 175 per year. So we thought that, using that money as wisely as possible made a lot of sense. And now that we're an MVP community, we can go after some grant money to help us get a more comprehensive program together to understand sort of where in town, tree canopy is declining, get a survey of what street trees are out there, their condition, their species, and just better understand where tree planting is needed, what are the O&M, long-term maintenance that we should be thinking about. So just a more comprehensive approach. So we're just hoping that perhaps the commission would want to throw in a letter of support.
All right, so this is like a real operative approach to, understanding soils, species diversification, disease infestation, making sure we, cull them out and pick other things that are more tolerant. So when we plant the trees, it's the right trees in the right locations in the right
Yep.
way. Yeah,
Yep.
that grant application says all of that.
Yep.
Competitive grant, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've already done it. Play up the financial investment that's already committed in place, because this is not just study money to get a plan. This is to really implement an already guaranteed program.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought it fit perfectly, so.
Yeah, because they're inclined to fund studies, but this is a study that's actually resulting in a real project.
Right.
Yeah.
We got
Excellent,
money
excellent.
that's not their money.
So is this gonna result in some sort of like GIS database that can continually be updated and?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the scoping phase right now, and we used the City of Brookline's process. They did MVP funding for a similar, they did a pretty intensive review of their town. It's stem-by-stem analysis, and so we'll have some form of GIS data layers.
Yeah, so just a pig pile onto Tony's perspective. So the operative data, stem by stem is the right phrase, inventory is gonna give you all the attributes. Here's the tree, these are the attributes.
Yeah.
The geospatial assignment of that tree to a map with a link to all the attributes, that's what you ultimately want, because as you plant new trees and as you cull out old ones, that becomes a living document as opposed to a snapshot in time that's good no more. Keep it on, it's gotta have a GIS component.
I think,
Yeah.
just I think that's what grant writers or, the MVP is gonna wanna see is, that it's gonna be a long-term situation and grow and, maybe even look at some community outreach, because with phones, now you're within 35, 50 feet for street trees. No, seriously, get people to take a picture and record the coordinates and send them in. At least it populates the database. It's a starting point. Actually, Concord's GIS has that. I was amazed by it.
Yeah, we had it in Milton, and we also cross-referenced all the leak permits that we issued to the gas company, and actually worked it into the lawsuit against the gas company for killing the trees.
No, that's, so, but yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. It's,
We left Taylor out of the discussion. He's the arborist. Sitting at the table.
No, he'll be part of it.
Yes.
We'll be using his expertise.
Amy, when are the grant applications due?
May 5th.
Excellent.
May 5th.
Yep.
So you need a
So I
letter
have-
right
Yeah,
now?
well, I have a template that I can work on. I just wanted to, I'm not gonna submit
So who is
something.
the applicant? Is it the planning department, or we are stakeholders to that?
Community Development, Community and Economic Development Department, Division, and you guys would be stakeholders
Okay.
and beneficiaries. I mean, we can use this information for our, our regulations, see how they could fit in or inform them better. Or a tree removal protocol, which you can't even imagine how many tree removal.
So you just want to vote for us
Or
to?
tailor rates.
So you just want to vote for us to authorize this letter of support?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
Great, thank you. So I'll draft something up and,
You just want Louis to sign on, and that motion authorizes Louis to sign on our behalf.
great, excellent.
Thanks.
You would have anyway.
All right.
Um,
Decision, we don't have a decision, right?
We
Or
do.
Yeah, 45 Patuit.
Yeah, I know.
Were you guys able to print that off for them?
We just get to the printer here because it's locked. The next room is locked
Okay,
where the printer
got it.
is.
All
There's
right,
no other way.
let me see. Let me pull it up and see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, I didn't have to use the gavel tonight.
It's a good thing, that's why I'm there.
Just had to threaten them.
Amy checked. I only missed one hearing, so I did watch the.
All right.
that was-
And the whole time we were away, there was nothing, no hearing, so I think, yeah, we're all in.
Yeah. Yeah, they continued a lot.
Let's see, let me try this. Can you see that, you guys?
No.
We see your screen, so if you get real close to the computer, we can read backwards in your glasses.
So stand on your head, put the screen on the camera.
Taylor, can you share your screen to this?
Let me see. Oh,
Yeah.
it looks like it's working.
Something's happening, Amy.
Yes. That's Amy's screen.
All right, wait a minute. Just get this. All right.
There it is.
Yay.
We have it, thank you.
Okay, all right. So I have project, current site conditions, 18,000 square foot parcel of land that's vacant, what it abuts, characterizes wooded and open with sloping topography and statutory wetland areas. Let's see, no previous permitting. Jurisdictional wetlands, BBW, inland bank, 100-foot buffer. Let's see. It's stating that the plan set accurately depicts the wetland and it's been reviewed in the field by the conservation administrator, not in natural heritage habitat zones. Just a procedural history, noting when we received the application, when we held meetings or held the hearings.
Amy, I'm sorry, can you scroll back to that habitat under natural heritage?
Yep.
You probably, stop right there, it's fine. You probably address it later on, but I want to make sure there's continuity. So that there's a natural heritage piece that is not considered a potential, but the whole habitat evaluation based on the stream designation, do we address that elsewhere?
Yep.
Or we
Yep.
do, it's not part of this, okay, thank you.
Yep. So, let's see, so the commission requests that the applicant investigate the need for ZBA, planning board, and public works approvals, as well as additional information regarding the need for wildlife habitat study, mass stream crossing standards, and to perform test pits at the stream crossing location for subsurface conditions to receive underground utilities. And then, just that at the April 13th, you received a sufficient information, voted to close. And then at the 27th, you reviewed a draft decision. So,
Again, if you can go back up to that.
oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
probably skipping too.
I'm sorry. I just heard the abutters, and I want to make sure we're crystal clear to remove any potential for appeal. So we had, it's a little further up, Right there. The commission requested the applicant investigate the need for ZBA, planning, additional information regarding the need for a wildlife habitat study. So I think that another sentence should be added at the end of that paragraph, that subsequently the stream regulations?
Yep.
Would
Stream
determine
crossing
that a wildlife habitat study was not required. Because they kept insisting we should have done one.
It's if you voluntarily meet the stream crossing standards.
I'll expound upon that, but that,
Right, that gets the idea there, right?
yep. Okay. Alrighty, and then just sort of documenting your vote. General conditions, the proposed work. I went into detail and I borrowed from the narrative in the project description here too, so.
So with the work, let's talk about specifically the 4 big trees. Because I think tree removal is just a catch-all phrase, right?
Okay.
2 of the big trees nearest the house and closest to that end of the garage side of the driveway, those aren't even jurisdictional at all. But at least one of the other 2 are jurisdictional within the 100.
Yep.
But I think they agreed that those didn't need to come down.
Right.
So I think we should say that this, actually, we probably don't even need to say it because it's on the plan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just general tree removal in accordance with the plan. All this is in accordance with the plan. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
Should we go so far as to say the 2 large trees within the 100-foot buffer zone shall not be removed without additional permission being requested for same? Maybe that's a condition, because this
Yeah.
is just your overview, right?
I think
Right.
I think he acknowledged that.
Yeah.
They weren't
But
gonna
all,
be removed.
but all it takes is a guy with a chainsaw going out and doing the wrong thing.
Right, exactly.
If we don't, so I think it's a condition we could say that specifically. Right now, this is just your general catch-all, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a kind of an overview of the project.
Mhm. Even in person, I think we should do all decisions this
I
way.
think she can scroll a little faster. We're not illiterates.
You guys gotta give me some quick clues.
She's back.
Oh,
Put me to sleep.
Um, So just the plans of record. The docs. I included John Borghesi's letter. Actually, I was gonna ask you guys, should I include the A&R plan, or does that matter? to
No,
us?
it's on record at the registry. That's,
Okay.
they just use that as supporting document.
Perfect, okay. All right. All right, let's see what we got here. Limited project, it is a limited project, but, you know, can't qualify for any more. 10 grand for the bond.
For single-family house, yeah, that's pretty hefty,
Well,
but it's appropriate.
it's
Yeah,
It's a
crossing.
crossing.
So, for the erosion control monitor, I think it's important for whoever they get, it hasn't been involved with the project design or permitting. Is we should really have a truly impartial third party.
I agree with this concept. Does it say that the right way?
Well, I'm up for wordsmithing, but I just wanted to kind of make sure that thought got in there.
Well, it says what it says. One way to read that is, the guy who was the agent before us, we don't trust him to do the work as the monitor. That's one way to read it, and it almost reads that way. But we don't mean it that way.
Right.
We truly want independence.
Yeah,
Sean would make that better. I can't.
to designate an independent,
Independent third party that has not been involved in the project during design or permitting, being a wetland scientist or other qualified.
got it.
That does a good job, Tony.
Are we gonna start requiring the certified?
I gave Amy the
Yeah.
guidance on that from EPA. It's not quite in
place, yes.
It's not quite in place yet.
How would we memorialize something like that? Would that be a policy or change to our regulations, or just,
Are you saying we want a third party in all cases moving forward? No, I think it's too
I
rigid.
don't know.
I think in some instances on complicated sites, there could be some great benefit of having the guy who understood what the principles were to be involved in the monitoring.
Yeah. Got it. But the way we've got this is okay.
Probably the first one the applicant will appeal.
Well, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, right. All right, so prior to work commencing, and an on-site, so prior to work commencing and prior to a pre-construction meeting on site, want to have, oh no, sorry, it's not the LSP.
Yeah, I was gonna question that.
Sorry about that. Arrange a sit-down meeting to go over the following. I don't know if this is, this applies, but if prepared, 100% construction drawings to be accompanied by a memo that details plan revisions versus what we approved. I don't know if that's the over the top for this type of project.
So I think we should say that the applicant, project engineer, erosion control monitor shall meet, not sit down, agree to, but shall meet and agree to, shall meet, review, establish, and agree to the following.
Okay. I get it. Okay. Let's see, copy the order, with each page bearing the general contractors.
You're gonna clean up that language, right? Because that,
I am, yeah.
okay, good.
Well, let me just, yeah, I know, I just don't wanna.
Yeah, don't, just as long as you know enough in green to go back and get to it.
Yep, yep, got it. So I want the general contractor, the site supervisor's initials on every page of the order. Detailed sequence schedule of construction that includes all milestones, including but not limited to erosion control, wetland replication, plantings, utility and culvert install, buffer zone enhancement, plantings, field stone wall construction, and all other project components. Dewatering means and methods, I'm not sure that's 66, so I'm going to.
I'd almost want someone from staff on site when they do the directional drilling horizontal boring under the wetlands.
Okay. Okay, that could be a during construction condition, or?
Yeah, that's fine. During construction, just, 48 hours
Yeah.
notice or something, and
Okay,
Amy, refresh my memory. Directional boring was to bring in gas, water, and
Okay.
sewer?
Sewer?
Or just water and sewer?
good question. Let me pull the file, hold on.
It's gotta be all three. Gotta get,
What's that?
it doesn't make sense to do.
you gotta get all three piped utilities in, under that brook somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do, overhead for electricity?
Well, they have that as an option at least. If they wish to do that, they'll have to bore it too.
Yeah, and that'd be under the 100% construction drawings, and they didn't have to.
do you want me to look at it, or,
Yeah.
all right.
reason why I say that, we typically want them to sleeve, directional bore a sleeve and then pull the utility through it. That way, if they ever need to maintain it, they can just simply pull it through the sleeve and not have to redig. I don't think we got to that level of discussion.
Yeah, I'm
Hate to
just
say it.
afraid they're gonna come in with one of the pneumatic pigs and be like, here you go, we're horizontally installing the.
Yeah, water, sewer, gas, electric.
Right, but those are just lines. In the detail of that crossing, going into the brook, are they showing them in sleeves, or are they showing those pipes? Because if they're not showing in a sleeve, we should require that they be in sleeve,
Oh, okay.
We should just write it in.
Yeah.
or we could just write it in. You're right there, go up. The crossing. That's the pump chamber itself for the,
Oh, all right.
and actually, another reason for the sleeve, because it's pumped. If you have a breach, you want it to be contained in the sleeve. All right, we should say that all underground utilities at the brook crossing shall be in a contained sleeve, sleeved pipe.
Contained within.
Yeah.
Okay,
If it was their intent, great, and if it's not their intent, it now is their requirement.
okay. All right,
And again, that's only necessary within, say, 20 feet of either side of the crossing itself, and then additional 20 feet on either side. The condition should say that.
say that again?
Where underground utilities
Mhm.
are to be directionally drilled, those utilities shall be contained within
Mhm.
a sleeved pipe,
Yep,
and that said sleeve shall extend the full length of the wetland crossing plus 20 feet on either side, on
Okay.
both sides.
got it. Okay,
That's really important for the sewer in this, because it's pumped. The other ones are really just, if it breaks, you can maintain it without having to redig.
okay, all right. Let's see.
Yeah, because the roads.
You have to pump it down the hill and back up to the street. You come,
So you can see the conditions again?
Yep.
Okay. So pre-construction stuff. Need to sign, field survey, all erosion control install. So there's a bit of phasing for the erosion controls, so I just wanted to make sure that we are on site for each new phase. And then our general language that, we can require additional, erosion controls or wetland flagging to be checked. Having on hand 75 feet of silt fence and sufficient stakes, and then not less than 3 rolls of biodegradable erosion control blankets.
you haven't gotten to stockpile areas yet, right? It's further down?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. So, I don't, like, for the fieldstone wall at the 25, does it make sense to make them do it first, or?
Maybe
I don't know if, I mean, I wouldn't want it to get like mangled during construction, but maybe.
That may
it won't.
speak to exactly the point I was going to raise, and that is on a very confined site, where you put your lumber, where the guy delivers it,
Yeah.
where they work from and where they cut. It's one thing to say it's gonna be outside the 25, it's better
Yeah.
to say, if the wall's in, you're not gonna cross the wall. So I think the wall should go in first.
Okay. Got it.
My opinion, I mean, you guys agree?
Oh, that makes sense. Is there a washout area on this plan? Amy?
Stockpile areas, but I don't, do you mean the water area?
A
Washout,
washout,
cement trucks,
concrete
concrete
Oh,
trucks.
cement washout,
Yeah.
no.
All right, well, you haven't put one, we'll put
Or
one.
just prohibit it on site, make them drive off and wash out after.
I think that's the only practical way. Because otherwise they're in Catuit Street.
You better chase the concrete truck.
How do we want to handle that?
Do it.
No washout of concrete trucks shall be allowed on site, period.
Period. Okay. Alrighty. All right, so landscape wall in pre-construction.
The reality, the only issue would be is when they do the cellar, the garage floor. Because they're doing the foundation, the footing they're gonna be doing the hole, the foundation they're gonna do in the hole around it. Right in the hole, that's fine, but
You mean wash out inside the hole?
Louis laughing, because he knows what they're really gonna do.
You have a lot of faith in concrete trucks.
Look, the brook's right there.
I know what I made him do on my project. They did it right.
They're not gonna drive away.
Getting all of their other
Unless
permits in
somebody's chasing
place?
them down the street.
Erosion control, limit of work. Pre-construction meeting. Let's see.
Amy, go back up to that, once the something or other than pre-construction is scheduled, a little bit further up. Right there. So, see the above mentioned, put the condition number there, because we don't know what that condition is.
Okay,
That's the sit-down meeting you're talking about, right?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
okay. Okay. Let's see. I'm just. Native landscaping. Just making sure that the plant schedule doesn't change. If they change it, I want a final one. Invoices to, for the purchase of the native seed mixes and plants shall be provided before install. For application in the field prior to final seeding, invasive inventory shall be performed to provide baseline documentation. All aspects of the wetland replication and buffer zone enhancement shall be monitored under the direct supervision of the qualified wetland scientist. And I'd say that has not been involved or design or permitting with the project. Is that too burdensome or?
Well, I mean, if they have an erosion control monitor that's a wetland scientist, then there would
Yeah.
still be, you can keep that person engaged.
So I can say,
We may have missed an opportunity, refresh my memory. There's a lot of invasives out there. Other than the crossing and the restoration area, there was no invasive control proposed, was there, or offered?
not really, no.
All right.
If qualified.
Monitored for at least 2 years. Post-install, reporting once a year. Dead or dying plants to be replaced. Invasive species monitored. And then I just say methods for more involved management of invasive species or herbicide, root barriers or herbicide application shall be discussed before implementation. Planting and replication areas shall exhibit overall survivorship of the native plantings of at least 75% after 2 full growing seasons. Then I say dewatering means and methods. I should say that it should be on site, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It should be, to me, it should be built, I don't like, we need dewatering, hurry up. It should be already be built. It's supposed to be,
Well, he'll definitely dewater during the culvert installation, the crossing.
Right, yep.
And he may very well be dewatering in the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
so I think a dewatering spot should be implemented somewhere on the plan. Not have the stuff on the side of the site.
You want to add that to your pre-construction discussion?
Yeah.
The dewatering be dewatering location to be established
Yeah.
at that meeting?
Yep.
Gonna require a sampling plan that
Mhm.
includes the 2022 construction general permit. That's actually pretty good language.
Mm-hmm.
The 7-day average.
Okay. Got that. Imported fill, that's standard. Okay. I say 64, as testified by the project engineer during the public hearing, no soil excavate stockpiles will occur on site. Instead, excavations will be immediately transferred to dump trucks to haul off site the same day. I can probably say that more eloquently, but he did say that during the hearing,
Okay.
He did.
so. And then I say construction material stockpiling shall occur outside jurisdictional areas or at least 50 feet from the wetland and in a manner that is not to create erosion. At no time shall stockpiling of soil of any materials occur on the wetland side of the erosion controls. Is that okay?
What about equipment? Do we have anything interesting?
So thinking of stockpiling, so construction materials, I think parenthetically you would say soils as well as building materials shall not be stored or stockpiled.
Okay.
Shall not be stored or stockpiled, and then the rest, within. And the rest of it's fine. That looks like a new general condition. A standard
Yeah.
condition.
Or at 50 feet from the wetland and in a manner,
And must maintain at least 50 feet from the wetland.
okay.
We just changed the shall to shall not.
Must be greater than 50 feet, not at least, right? Must be greater than?
Yeah, greater than.
At least is gonna be lousy closer.
Yeah, 50 feet, 1 inch.
I'll clean up the language.
Yeah, green that up.
Yep,
Get the gist of it.
yep.
construction vehicles is to be stored within 100 feet of.
What's that?
Alright, no, I just was making sure that the construction vehicles within 100 feet of the wetland is in there.
And you put, did you
Oh,
add fuel?
I should
Yeah, that was.
add
That
that.
was in it?
Yeah, that was in the last condition, no refueling. No vehicle refueling, equipment lubrication or maintenance.
Okay, yeah.
I can't say that. Am I missing something here?
No, you,
Oh.
no, you have it.
We get-
Yeah, 68 was good.
I'm looking at just how far the house site is from the street itself. And that everything on left and right as you're coming in is wetland area, a resource area. Then there's the crossing, and then a very confined site up top. So things like even the contractors and the employees, where they park,
okay.
where they park their trailers, I mean, all that stuff, they need to be crystal clear that that can't be anywhere out on that, that resource area out front.
Right.
It almost looks like it needs to be barricaded all the way out.
Mm.
If you understand that concept, you can just remember it and put it where you think it belongs and get to it. Yeah, parking and trailers is really what you. So what I'm envisioning is they're gonna want to get it off the roadway because the town's not gonna let them keep it there. They don't want it up near the house because it's too congested to begin with. They're gonna come in right to the right of that proposed driveway, a resource area, and that's where they're gonna park their cars. Right off the bat, creating a violation.
Yep.
And that's what we want to make sure they're clear that they can't do that.
Should we require some sort of barrier?
Yeah, I think it's a
Construction fence,
construction fence, doesn't need to be, yeah, fence.
that's part of the,
You murdered that wood.
Edge of pavement?
Huh? You must be getting tired.
25 foot?
Yeah, no closer than 25.
Yeah, so the 25 foot on the continuum.
My recollection is it's everything to the right as soon as you come off the road.
Okay. I'll clean it up.
Maybe they can strike a deal to park at the condos.
On that lawn.
That ain't happening.
Green it up, clean it up. Green it up and clean it up. All right. All right. Let's see. USDs, fertilizer, sodium. Buffer zone enhancement, planting, and wetland replication shall be left to naturalize and shall not be subject to routine residential landscaping practices. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, now how do we sign it?
Taylor's got the signature page, or Jamie does. There's a whole bunch. You have a whole bunch to sign tonight. So I have additional.
This is the new way. Donna used to have a bunch of signed ones in the folder that she'd rip out when needed.
Oh my gosh. And so I have those additional conditions that I've written down in my notepad, so I'll add those. And then I have the revised ones that we talked about in green. So I guess if you guys are cool with that, you could take a vote.
I heard Jack move it, I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. And
Great.
last but not
Thank you,
least,
guys.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.